Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday Night Motorsport at the GSRC. Tonight, we'll be starting with the truck series from Pocono Raceway, just the 3 corners to navigate, so hopefully we'll get some green flag running this week. And then following up later on in the evening, we'll be going to Belle for the V8 Supercars Championship. I'm Liam Banks, alongside me is Daniel Saar, producing and providing co-coms as always, and it's fair to say this is a week we've been looking forward to for a while, particularly for the V8s coming up a bit later, but we'll focus in on the truck series for now. And we do have some changes this round, so why don't you walk us through them, Daniel?
Yeah, so the primary one's going to be that we do have a live race control tonight in the booth. We've had a hand put up from Ashley Dodgson, team of the member of the GSRC, who does have some previous Oval experience, so he is running in the booth right now. So hopefully that will mean that, one, our drivers are a little bit more sensible out there on the tri-oval, and two, we see some more green flag racing. That would be nice because the auto yellows driving me off the wall. Also, it looks as though they are trialing a new system for waiver rounds during those safety car periods. I am not 100% on the system, but from what I understand, everybody that is a lap down should receive a waiver round based on track order, not position order. However, there are some caveats to that, so I guess you guys at home will learn at the same time we do.
Yeah, absolutely. We got another healthy grid out there, so they're just getting qualifying underway. Well, I say just getting underway, they're about halfway through. And it looks like we've got a field of about 20 cars or so, maybe a little bit more out there. So a fairly healthy grid still, although way down from the record numbers we had when we started this series, or what would have been about 4 months ago now, in the final season of 2024. And we had two servers going. But there's certainly a core of dedicated persons running this series, and you can see two of the main stars up front in Trent Lavis and Aiden Cale. They've been fighting at the front for rounds on end. It will all be between these two for the championship, one would imagine, although Phil Otto is also up there in the points standing. And do not be surprised if someone like Joe Baldwin, a P. Matson, perhaps even a Chapman or a Zamora shoots up there and grabs himself a surprise podium or even a victory before the season's over, particularly in the ovals where chaos reigns and anything can happen. So just watching Sam Chapman on his qualifying run here. Got sensibly close to the wall. Definitely wasn't pushing it as much as he could have, but left himself a little bit of room. But certainly wasn't overly cautious, which is a great way of me staying in the middle. To the back end, getting out a little bit there, but he's caught that and got that under control nicely. It looks fairly like this will be a fairly smooth run. Don't know whether he'll be able to improve on this time. Of course, being a oval qualifying, the lap times are all very close together. Only half a second between the, only a second between the entirety of the grid, with most of the drivers within half a second of the leader, which is currently Trent Lavis, which will be no surprise to any of the regular viewers of this series.
So I think we've got 20 drivers or so in this session, the last of which are just setting their laps now. You can see from there that the largest gap is a second back, so 53.172 belonging to Trent Lavis for the front of the grid thus far. We'll see if anybody can pip him in the half a minute there is left to go. And as I say, that Aiden Cale does a 53.145 to jump up to that front line. Trent will have something to say about that as he makes his way around this very funny Dorito-shaped circuit.
It is comically Dorito-shaped, or like the symbol of some random mountaineering brand that nobody's heard of.
Yeah, I suppose you can put it that way too.
And that is the end of qualifying, so we'll just get the confirmation of the grid up for you as soon as we have it. And here it is, quick work from Daniel there. We've got Aiden Cale on pole position with Trent Lavis alongside him. Then on the second row is Dave Oliver and Colin Bennett. The third row is occupied by Adam Lavis and Dane Stannon. And behind them they have Julian Muckey and Joe Baldwin, then Bevan Moyes and Phil Otto round out the top 10. In 11th place is 101, Sam Chapman, and he's got Pete Matson alongside him. Behind them is Eduardo Zamora and Martin Mitchell, with Phil King and Liam Braid on the 8th row. The 9th row is Philip Clark and Robert Culbreath, with Seth Stevens and Craig Russell at the back of the top 20. And in 21st, last but not least, is Michael Ladder. It's going to be interesting to see if the smaller grid impacts the how clean the racing is as well. Generally, we've had 30 to 40 cars on the ovals, so having only 20 cars could be very interesting. With race control, I'm very hopeful that we're going to get some good racing tonight, and these are your current championship standings. As you can see, Lavis and Kale, they've got a march on the opposition. They're 16 points clear of anybody else, 26 if you're Trent Lavis, and looking like they're going to make that a two-way battle for the championship. Gary Cousins, Dane Snadden very close to each other for the final spot on the podium, with Phil Otto having dropped down last week, having not raced, I believe, if my memory is correct. So look for him to try and insert himself into that podium battle, because he's been very quick all throughout. Surprised to see Chapo in 6th, but good for him. Probably shouldn't be surprised, he's pretty good at everything, but I can't remember him having too many strong races in the truck series. I'm sure he won't mind me saying. So look for him, because if he gets a sniff at a solid championships position, he'll likely capitalise, and Adam Lavis is always a threat. And then there's a bit of a gap behind them to Ashley Lear, Moyes Noble at the back of the top 10.
So guys, just parked on pit lane, waiting for the go-ahead from the officials in order to get onto the tri-oval and get this started. We can hear the shift there in Trent's car, so it looks like they're getting ready to do just that. You can see the safety car right in front. These guys will line up side by side, 2 by 2, and then as they approach that start-finish line, the green flag will wave, and we'll be able to kick off this 45-lap race here at Pocono Raceway. As you mentioned, Liam, it's a much shorter field than we sometimes see on these ovals, so my hope is that these guys will be able to travel much closer together without too much chaos. As I said, we do have a live race control in the booth today, so hopefully these guys will be a little bit more sensible and just give themselves time. There is also one other change that I forgot to mention. I do apologize, I'll mention it now. The fuel cap on the setups for these cars has been removed. Drivers can fill this car to 100% from the get-go, so that means these cars will be traveling much heavier than we would normally see them. Therefore, they'll probably have, well, the theory is that it will give them more control, but actually Dodgson tells me that the drivers may not be getting what they're expecting, so we'll see how that plans out once we get this race underway.
It's only going to be different. What it'll do is it'll benefit some drivers and it'll hurt others. The drivers that had really had a handle on the lighter rear end will be hurt by this, but those perhaps struggling and more likely to line up the rear tyres should benefit from the change. So we'll see who the winners and losers are, but it won't be enough to change the overall pecking order, which will be Lavis and Kale ahead of most other people. I had to say after them, I think Adam Lavis probably being one of the next strongest on the grid. Although Colin Bennett, Dave Oliver, Dane Stanton would all like to argue with me around that, and I'm prone to bribery. So if you would like to be named as one of the best in the series, I'm cheap, so. just send what you want. Anyway, we're about to go green flag running. The safety car has pulled into the pit lane, and we have the cars underway. Everyone being really well behaved. Well done, staying really settled in those 2 lanes instead of popping out straight away like we've sometimes seen, which can be illegal depending on the oval series. Usually you have to stay in lane a little bit longer than some of our drivers have been, but they're very sensible so far. And it is Trent Lavis on the outside of NKL holding on to first position, and I wonder if Trent will sit in behind him quite early on. Indeed he does, making it a 1-lane race at the front behind them. Colin Bennett is side by side with Dave Oliver still, and you can just see that pack of about 12 cars. They've just stayed in their 2 lanes, and they're going to fight it out for a while yet, while Trent Lavis goes up the inside of NKL to take the lead in what will be the first of many moves at the front of this race. I'm sure enough of them that are already starting to break away a clear gap, the biggest on the field, between Kale and Bennett.
Yes, that can work really well for those front 2. Basically, they'll probably leapfrog over the course of lap after lap, but if they can do it sensibly, then what will happen is they'll create their own little pocket and they'll be able to push each other away while leaving the rest behind. Colin Bennett is not in a particularly strong position right now. He's quite far back from the front 2, which will drop him away from that draft, which will also negatively impact the cars behind. You can see Joe Baldwin right now just behind Dane Snadden trying to get a little bit of a push himself. He's now going to go to the left side. inside, try and get that side draft as they move into the next corner. But a really, really good job there from the front two thus far. You can see that very distinct gap, 0.1 to the car ahead. That's Trent Lavis, but then it goes to 0.6 to P3.
Yeah, and we saw Sam Chapman get a little bit of a tap on the wall there, but it looks like it hasn't hurt him too badly. He is our biggest mover so far, up 3 positions, along with Eduardo Zamora, who's gone from 13th into the top 10. At the front, it's still Lavis and Kale. The good news for Bennett is, like you said, he is a bit detached from Kale, but he also had a bit of a lead on Adam Lavis, so it looks like that lead has been scuppered with the gap going down below 0.4 of a second. So Adam Lavis will be getting a nice little toe behind there, and we're just going to sit on board with Chapo and see how he takes this corner. So you can see him turning in a little bit earlier than the car ahead, really took it down onto the inside there, but not able to make anything work. And in fact, it looks like he's getting a push from behind from Bevan Moyes, who pulls to his inside. So I think Chapo is about to lose a position here.
Goes down on the inside line, so he cuts off that advance there from Bevan Moyes. And that's one of the many decisions you have to make around a tri-oval like this. If you leave that inside line available, then someone's going to absolutely fill that slot. So you've got to figure out early which line you want to take, which line you want to defend, and then make maximum use of that. Trent Lavis and Aiden Kale down at the front. We'll pay attention to them for a little bit. You can see just how tight they are. That gap to them, from them and P3 is still at that 6/10 mark, and Adam Lavis has managed to close up the gap between himself and Colin Bennett. So it's very much 2 small packs, and then essentially the rest of the field, even though it does seem as though Sam Chapman and Bevan Moyes are breaking their own little gap. So we'll see how that develops. But, and I'm saying this knowing that I am tempting fate, but we've had 4 laps here, completely green flag racing, and everyone has managed to stay clean. Hopefully we can continue this good run of luck.
Yes, but it's not just luck, is it? It's skill on behalf of the drivers that we've got in the field. We mentioned that in a smaller grid. This is you'd say, looking at the names, this is very much the core of who we've had. A little less ring-ins, and I think it is showing tonight. These are the drivers that will have been the most invested in having a clean race, because they all want this championship to work. They want to encourage others, and you're not going to get that if you don't have clean racing. We're just seeing Aiden Kale giving Trent Lavis a little bit of a bump, so his focus very much at the moment is getting himself and Trent Lavis out in a two-way fight for the lead, which is almost job done at this point, and then getting it on between them later on, rather than trying to make the move immediately and potentially compromising both of them and letting themselves slip into the clutches of Colin Bennett, who has doggedly stayed with them, the gap remaining around 0.6 of a second, which it has been for 2 or 3 laps now. Adam Lavis really trying to get onto the back of Bennett, but not able to make any headway either. And then there's a gaggle of cars behind him, so it's a very distinct little fight starting to break out. You've got these 2 at the front. You've then got a gaggle of 4 from 4th down to gaggle of 5, from 4th down to 8th, with Chapo at the back of that one and Stannon leading that pack, and then a gap to Bevan Moyes, and then behind Dave Oliver there's a hell of a scrap to get into the top 10, with everybody from now Eduardo Zamora down within a second of the car ahead. Well, there's a big tap on the wall there from Colin Bennett. Would stay under green flag running. Looks like he managed to get the car under control, but that has dropped him way off the back of Aiden Kale. And Adam Lavis will now be hunting for a podium if he gets his way. You can just see them there. Looks like I don't see any obvious damage on Colin Bennett's purple 342 machine, but we will have to keep an eye on it because it was quite a hefty shunt.
There's also a move down the bottom there for around P10. Dave Oliver's just dropped all the way back. 1.35 seconds from Bevan Moyes there. That's a significant gap. And you can see Adam Lavis now is right there for the hunt. He moves over to the left side. Nice and easy. I'd imagine he's going to be able to do this without too much difficulty. And I think Dean Snadden's going to try and take a similar approach. He's going to tuck up in there, come onto the inside line, and then he's most likely going to push his Yep, goes to the inside there.
Yeah, he thought about going for a move and Lavis there and then thought better of it, which I think is a smart choice. Given the pace that he had before the wall tap, I do wonder if Colin Bennett does have a little bit of damage, maybe just hurting straight line speed a little bit or hurting the handling of that car, because all of a sudden he's lost 2 positions and he's looking under threat of losing more. They will have to make a pit stop in this, so it does make you wonder whether an early pit and getting a fast repair might not be a terrible option, except for the fact that he'd be off the pack and not getting any slipstream assistance if he were to do that. Much like Adam Lavis is 1.7 seconds, 1.8 behind Lavis and Cole. These two have well and truly cleared off. The cars in the background are mere specks at this point. You couldn't make out who was the leader of that pack if you wanted to from this angle, which means job done. Now the gloves should come off.
1.7, that is a huge gap to that front, so it really is truly their own little fight here. And I have to admit, it's kind of crazy because Aiden Cale has been dipping his tires just under the apron in some of these corners, and I just feel like that's
inviting death.
Insane.
Usually.
Like, usually you don't want to do that just because of how harsh the angle is, but he's been doing it. It's been working okay, so he's the one driving. I'll leave my thoughts alone. Trent's doing a really good job out in front. Now, of course, with the change to the fuel regulation on the setup, it does mean that these guys will travel much, much longer. And for the fact that we have less cars on track right now, and the fact that we have a live RC, it also means that everyone's fuel strategy is going to be much, much different. So we'll see just how long we can push this green stage of racing until these guys will then make a conscious decision. I'd imagine that most of them, if not all, would come in for a pit stop should a yellow flag be waved. Time will tell, but for now we are about to cross the line again. That's 10:45, and we have not seen any major incidents. Again, I know I am tempting fate every time I say this, but I do have to comment on the race. So these guys are doing an amazing job, absolutely stellar job out there from all 21 drivers. But for the biscuit, it is Trent Lavis and Aiden Cale still a cracking lead between everyone else. But Adam Lavis is doing a really good job leading that other pack, and should either of these front two put a step wrong, you can be sure that those behind will capitalise on it.
Yeah, 100%. The last thing either of these wants to do is just brush that outside wall, get the car all out of shape, and give themselves more hassle than they need. Or you know, tap each other and bring both their races to an end, because then that rivalry will absolutely blossom if they were to do that. You can just see Baldwin having a really poor corner there, and I'm not sure what happened on the entry, but must have lost his rear or something, because he not only lost the position to Mookie, he lost a heap of ground, and now Sam Chapman's alongside him, and Chapo's going to pull into 7th place, which will mean he'll be up 4 spots from where he started. And the biggest mover in the field so far. Not too many big movers and shakers other than him. The next biggest movers are up 2. And the worst loss is Dave Oliver, who's down 7. So must have been a mistake from Oliver. And we've got a change for the lead. They went side by side for a moment there to Lavis and Cale.
It's actually Cale's just having slight dropouts. That's why it was cutting in and out there. Hopefully that doesn't cause anything too major. Ovals would actually be the one scenario in which it probably wouldn't matter too much, because your travel is more predictable on an oval than it is, you know, when you introduce right-hand turns. So
you're also less likely to lock up or do something that means you go drastically unpredictable. It should be fine, and particularly if you know that you're blinking a bit, you can sort of drive to that and just make clear what your line is and stick to it, and know that everything's going to be okay. So it's beneficial for both drivers. As we're just watching Dane Snadden, he fancies a move on Lavis. So this has been brewing for a little while. It's been getting closer and closer to Lavis. Seems to have the faster car at this point. I do wonder whether he'll make the move. No, he's going to give him a bump. Going to try and push the 2 of them towards Lavis and Cale. That's a big goal, but I enjoy the optimism from number 3 there. Yeah, you also need... That's an immense amount of trust that you have to have, because in the real world, we get the benefit of knowing what physics does. Yes. Right? Netcode doesn't really exist in real life. So
it's predictable. You bump into the car behind in front of you, and it's a nice predictable pattern. And then you push, and eventually you catch up to cars in front, right? In iRacing, latency and physics calculations tend to be a little bit freaky sometimes. So you have to have a lot of trust, and you have to make sure that when you do make these bumping maneuvers, you do it on the straights, because any small form of bump through one of the corners might translate into a spike on the other driver's force feedback, which, and depending on their setup, could absolutely ruin them. So this is very, very sensible from what we're seeing from these guys here. You can see them on the main straight. Dean Stannard's going to tuck right in. He made me a liar. Instead, he's going to go for the pass. That's cool too, as they cross the line. And will he try and take the inside line? He's in a good position for it. And yes, he does. So through the first turn, and he will temporarily go into third, but again, Lavis will just do the exact same thing he did to him. Tuck back in, use that drop, possibly bump through, and while doing so, they do drag the cars behind with them. So you can see Mookie there has closed the gap to where he once was, and Bennett has also somewhat reduced that as well. Sam Chapman just came into that red border there, so 4/10 for him. How many green are we in now? Lap 14 of 45. So that's, I believe that's the longest we've had thus far this season.
Certainly as a proportion of the race. Because we've had some races that had more laps. So I think it is the longest.
Hold on a minute. Okay, all right. So I panicked because I thought I saw someone hit into the wall. It's actually just Joe going into the pit lane. So apologies. So Joe comes into the pit lane on lap 15 of 45. All I saw was a truck fly off to the left, and
so based on prior experience.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing. I've been burnt so many times, so I thought something had happened there. But no, it's okay. We are still on the grid. We didn't jinx it. It is just a joke.
Oh, that's a wall touch. Kale's just hit the wall on the exit of that corner. Quite a nasty hit as well. That will not help him trying to keep up with Trent Lavis. So that's definitely advantage to Trent. Hopefully he hasn't got any damage. But it was certainly a hefty shunt.
And that's obviously it's going to start coming, right? Because we're getting so many green, because we're getting so many racing laps, right? These tires aren't getting a chance to have a break. So the temperatures are going to go through the roof. The tire wear is going to go through the roof. And so they're going to start drifting higher and higher up onto that high line. I hear a car. I hear a crunch noise. I wonder who touched the wall. Julian Mookie. All right.
And then he's been touched from behind, just trying to get around and crawl back to the pits. So let's see what's happened here. So he's gonna be all by himself.
Oh, he's killed the engine.
Oh, he has.
Hold on. Now.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. It's gonna be a shift. Let's see here. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, unfortunate for him that he has, and then he's just been rammed up there because, is that, tell me it's not by his teammate. Oh, no.
And title sponsor, Orbic Australia.
Yes, that's right. Well, there is Julian Mookie on the pit lane. His engine destroyed, so he will have to tow, and that is his teammate behind coming into the pit lane. Bevan Moyes, he also coming in probably to look at fixing that damage that he would have incurred.
Well, you say it. These drivers are in unknown territory as far as the Orbic Australia NASCAR Truck Series goes in the GSRC in 2025 because they've actually run long enough to actually get some proper tyre wear. to the tune of over a second. So Trent Lavis, his best lap time is a 53.2. His last was a 54.6. So 1.4 seconds from the best on the field. You gotta think those further down are gonna be suffering more. Yes, their lap times are gonna fluctuate more anyway, but everyone's gonna be suffering 1.5, 2 seconds of wear on his tires, and that is a significant amount. And Joe Baldwin has just put in the best last lap with a 53.4, 1.2 seconds faster than anybody else. So he is going to undercut a fair few drivers with this strategy, regardless of the fact that he's running by himself. He's running faster than those with the time. 8 tenths faster than our leaders, so do not be surprised if we see a...
No!
Oh, that's not going to work!
Oh, they live. They live.
Feel like they shouldn't have. Like they shouldn't have.
Yeah, maybe not. So that was Phil King and Eduardo Zamora coming together there. Zamora just drifting up onto that high side, touching the back of Phil King's car. There was wall contact, but they both kept their wheels straight, and they're still heading in the right direction. So nothing major there.
And everything we have seen in the last few minutes where we've had a little bit of drama has been those tyres wearing. It will be the marbles forming up on the outside of the circuit. As soon as these cars are going offline, the drivers do not have the grip that they used to. They are washing up a lot. We've seen a few people tapping the wall. This will be why they just have not got their head around how to hold on to these cars at the moment. And I do wonder if Joe has played an absolute blinder by just taking himself out of that position. Not even so much for just the pace, but just he's got no worries. He's going to be clean. He's not going to hit the wall. I'll say that. I hope I haven't just jinxed him horribly. But he shouldn't be touching the wall. He's got less excuse than anybody else. But everybody else, you can see, is fighting it. When Aiden Cale has touched the wall, any of these drivers could end their races on any of these corners.
The other thing to note here too is that when Julian Mookie had an unfortunate engine mishap, it caused quite a rift up the front. So Dane Snadden has managed to break away from Adam Lavis to the tune of 1.6 seconds. So yes, Snadden's probably cheering right now, and then unfortunately for Cale, he's now dropped to almost the same behind Trent Lavis. So neither of these guys are getting a benefit of it. So Colin Bennett is the only one in that top 5 who can, but even so, the minute he passes Adam Lavis, the shoe gets turned, and Adam is now the one with that. So these two should look at working together to try and catch back up to Snadden, and then consider another temporary partnership in order to try and catch back up to Aiden Cale. But I don't really think that's going to go. You can see Colin just go, all right, there we go, I'm pushing now, nice and easy. And again, it takes a lot of trust to be able to pull that off without some major carnage.
Yeah, Colin Bennett, he's an experienced driver. He's been around the block a little bit, as Colin. He's driven all sorts of cars, so he knows what he's doing. And I think if you're in the GSRC and you want one driver you know you can trust, I think Adam Lavis would be pretty high up there on your list if you're going to try something like a bump draft. Very, very consistent driver is Adam. I have to say, shout out to Dane Snadden in third place. He's a phenomenal driver. He just keeps getting stronger every year that he competes. Every year that he's in the GSRC, he seems to be getting higher up the standings in absolutely everything that he races. He's a very clean racer as well. So good to see him up in third place, and not at all surprised given he is absolute quality at this point. We're seeing a few more drivers deciding to take their cars into pit lane. Liam Bray and Phil King become the latest. Phil King suffering at the hands of Eduardo Zamora a couple of laps ago, so he's probably carried a little bit of damage and decided to go get into the pits. And Seth Stevens is also in the pits. But Joe Baldwin, I tell you what, he's going to be up there. He's going to be right up there when they pit, because he's been running over a second lap faster than the leaders ever since he pitted on lap 14. So it's been 8 laps now. So the leaders are certainly one-stopping. Baldwin, you imagine, will be two-stopping. But it's going to be interesting because he's going to be out of position for the one-stoppers and potentially higher up with less pace. So he's going to be driving a defensive battle to the end of this one, and then suddenly switching to the attack with about 15 laps to go, I would suspect. Unless it's going to do a long second stint. As I'm watching Marty Mitchell, he's the 651 entry. He's at the back of this gaggle of 3. He is attacking Eduardo Zamora, who is on the left-hand side. Left-hand side? And
right-hand side. That's Craig Russell in P19 who pit on lap 19. So that's why he's there. He's broken away and he's very slowly moving his way. And then, as you said, Dro is smashing out those lap times. Still doing, actually Bevan Moyes just had a 54 flat. So yeah, you can see just how beneficial those new tyres are. The problem is Joe is 9 seconds, sorry, almost 10 seconds down the road to the next competitor. So we'll see how it all resolves. The top 14 have not pit. Trent Lavis still coming strong and increasing the gap out the front there A 54.99 was his last lap time, and the gap is currently 2.3 seconds to Aiden Kale. So not exactly sure what's happening with Aiden, but ever since he dropped off that... Oh, right, yep.
Since he hit the wall, he hasn't quite had the pace of Lavis.
Yeah, so, yeah, he's dropped off significantly there. So right now he's probably in survival mode until we come to their respective pit windows. Colin Bennett still nicely tucked behind Adam Lavis. So this is the only real battle that's happening up at the front thus far. But again, one small mistake can throw a wrench in the works. And if we go under yellow, that's when, you know, the carnage will begin. And we've got to think about the restarts and things like waiver rounds. But so far, I really do have to take my hat off to these guys. 25 laps of racing, all under green conditions. We've had a couple of fender benders with the wall at each other, but nothing serious. And my condolences go out to Julian Mookie, because obviously his engine carked it, and he had to wait for the tow before he could then fast repair to get back onto the field. So he is back onto the oval now, but he is pretty much the only serious incident that we've had thus far. And Antonio, Pocono is my home track. Well, it's a beautiful one, mate. Looks funny from the top down, but it's providing some fantastic racing.
It is providing for some fantastic racing, and I have to say, it's fantastic that we've tried hard to get race control, and thanks to some volunteers that we had an influx of volunteers after a Discord chat a little while ago, and you're seeing the fruits of that now with live race control for tonight, and they're going to have nothing to do because everyone's been pretty clean. I think the only thing they'd look at would be that incident between with Zamora.
But I can't imagine he's mad about that. I feel like if it's a nice cruisy night, as we see Dane Snadden come in. So Dane Snadden, who was P3, has come in here lap 26, which allows Adam Lavis and Colin Bennett and Sam Chapman, by the way, who has somehow snuck right up there to P5. I didn't even notice that he managed to close that gap, but he has. Let me have a look at those last lap times. 55.7, 56, 55.6, 55.2. Wow, Sam Chapman has been rocketing past those past couple as Colin Bennett shoots down the inside as they play yet another game of leapfrog. But this time around, there are 3 players instead of 2, and Sam Chapman now brings himself into this battle. Adam Lavis is going to be in a world of hurt right now because he's getting boxed in. And so Sam Chapman, this is very smart. Usually the inside line is the faster one, but as they come around, they're still side by side.
And Aiden Kale is pitted from second place just while we watch this. So that's a key person to keep an eye on and where they feed back out. And that looks like Dane Snadden just coming out of pit lane. I'm pretty sure I didn't misread the number 3.
That was Zamora. Zamora coming out of pit lane.
That was very, very close between Lavis and Chapman. These guys race each other all the time. A lot of trust between the two of them. A little bit of a rivalry as both heavily involved in the club, and Chapman getting the best of this one. But Lavis will look to return serve later on. It's interesting that people are holding... Oh, that's a big wall tap. I say wall tap, a wall smash from Chapo. It'll be interesting what pace can carry into this corner. No, that car is damaged. Is it damaged?
No, there's just quite significant braking on some of these corners. I always think the same. I see them slow right down, and I always think something's wrong, but no, just that's the layout of this track as we see Colin Bennett shoot into the pits as well. There's a ton, actually. Trent Lavis has come in there. Bennett, Otto. There's P19. That's Kale, who is serving. Oh, hold on a minute.
He's still in pit lane.
Just left now. Did he catch a speeding violation?
He's got some sort of violation. There's no way that's genuine. So we're just watching his pit entry here.
Oh no!
Oh, no!
Yeah, I think he's got that. I think the distance caught him off guard there. So he had to lock up crossing the line, and yeah, I think he's caught a bad sportsmanship flag for that one, unfortunately. So 20th. That was a pit lane transit of 1 minute and 35 seconds. So that's not great.
To put that into laps, that's 1.5 laps in pit lane transit time. Which is suboptimal when you're in the fight for the lead. So currently Chapo is leading. He's one of only 4 drivers not to have pitted. There's a big gaggle there where some drivers are a lap down effectively and they're looking to unlap themselves, and they're the ones that have pitted, and then there's those that have not pitted, like Adam Lavis here watching on screen. He's trying to fight off Eduardo Zamora, who is the lead of those, a lap down, and now Lavis goes to the inside of Chapo. It's free wide. It's free wide again. Look at how much pace the tires were.
That was so close. Yeah, and Sam shoots it.
Yeah, smart move, smart move. You do not want to be getting caught in all of that. And at the meantime, do you want to know who is the leader of those that have stopped? Joe Baldwin.
Yeah.
With the counter strategy, but he is going to be in for a world of pain because he's got Dane Stein right behind him, and Dane is about to take the lead of this race.
He's got much fresher tyres here, takes the inside line. Again, these guys are putting... It's so insane. Every time I see them put some tyres underneath that apron, I feel like that cannot feel good, but they do it anyway. And then just behind these two, that's right, Trent Lavis, 1.4 seconds, and knowing his pace, he'll be able to close that up quite quickly. So it'll depend. If Joe Baldwin and Dane Snan can work together, maybe they can break away just like Aiden Cale and Trent Lavis did at the start of this race and keep Trent Lavis at bay. But that would require some work, and Joe Baldwin just dropped back.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to go with Dane because he pitted on lap 14. However, Dane pitted on lap 25 and Trent pitted on lap 27. So this is very genuine. Dane and Trent are on very similarly aged tyres. There's no real offset there, only 2 laps. So this is a proper fight we got for the lead. It's not between the two drivers we thought it would be. We thought Aiden Cale would be right in there, but he's taking himself out of it by just getting the all-wrong on pit entry, and now Trent Lavis will be desperate to get past Joe Baldwin, and he does so. And now he's going to have to go chase down Dane, who's he's not going to make it easy for him.
So Trent just made that pass, and now everybody has come into the pits. That was Adam Lavis, Dave Oliver, and Michael Ladder. Yes, Michael Ladder. So everybody has now pit. You can see it there on the timing tower on the top left of your screen. L and the pit lane number. Oh, sorry, the pit lap number. So Dane Snadden is now in the lead of the race. Trent Lavis has 2 lap fresher tyres, and we know that he's got the pace. And Joe Baldwin, pitted early, has reaped the benefits thus far, but it does seem as though that pace is starting to dwindle, and the cars behind him are catching at quite a rapid speed. So lap 31 and 45, we are well past the halfway mark here on a Wednesday night. And remember, this isn't even all that we're bringing you. We've still got both the first race from the Dev split and the second race from the Elite split for the Gen 3s, and that's not going to be one you want to miss, because we're going to Detroit Belle Isle, and those things in the Gen 3 Supercars are going to be fantastic. But for now, our focus is here at Pocono Raceway for the Orbic Australia GSRC NasTrucks Championship. And it is Dane Snadden leading the charge. Trent Lavis, as you can see, with the brightly coloured green car with the fantastic number of 69. Obligatory nice. Holding steady there in P2.
Yeah, Dane's doing a really good job here. I don't think he's going to have enough to hold off Trent. The gap between them half a second on the last lap, but Dane's all but guaranteed himself a podium, and considering where he was for much of this race, I mean, look at him, he's up 5 spots. He's played it tactically brilliantly, he's driven absolutely superbly, and he's looking really good value. Do not be surprised if he doesn't fight this too hard and instead just decides he's going to try and bank the second place. He'll just pick his line. He's forced Trent to go to the outside, which is always good. Trent's going to come out to the line, he's going to dip it in. Might have to check up a little bit. Can he get underneath? Yeah, he's going to be able to get underneath. Not quite, but he won't need to. There's no need to rush this move. He'll do it when he's ready. And he's ready right now to go to the inside. Going to have the low line for the next corner, and this will be job done. But Trent Lavis reassuming the lead, where he has been for the majority of this race, deserved leader. And
he committed.
Yeah, it kept the momentum as well. I thought he was going into the wall there, but
he committed.
Yeah, lovely driving from Dane there. The number 3 tucks them behind to get himself a bit of free lap time. And now it'll just be about sticking with... I think his best bet is to try and stick with Trent, use the slipstream, and then hope they can make a move at the end. But he's going for this.
That's aggressive. You don't normally see big sway moves like that from these guys. That just puts such unnecessary load into the tyres. But in any case, Dane's done that. Now he shoots over to the inside. Lavis is giving him a little bit of a squeeze. The nice thing about these types of tri-ovals is they have very clear-cut grooves, so you know exactly where the lane is meant to be. The state standard shoots down the inside, but Trent Lavis seems to have more speed up at that high line, so he stays in the lead for now. And it's actually a pretty good battle between these two, I must say. Joe Baldwin is falling further and further back. Seb Chapman is making time hand over fist. Seb Chapman with a 53.86 on that last lap. Joe Baldwin with a 55.2.
Yes, as Sam was one of the last drivers to pit on lap 29. Only Adam Lewis and Dave Oliver went for longer than Chapo, and Chapo's basically trying to do the overcut. Well, not the overcut. What he's done is he's come out on fresher tyres, and he's going to try and use that tyre offset that he's earned himself through his mammoth first stint to chase down those ahead of him. And he's going to chase down Baldwin without too many issues here. One would think going it over a second lap faster, and he's got 10 laps to go. But Baldwin, if he can hold on to these tyres and not drop off, he's got a shot of staying ahead of, if not Chapo and Bennett, then Adam Lewis, who's a further 2 seconds behind. I think that's going to be his goal, so I think top 5 is on for Baldwin here if he can get to the end of the race cleanly. Dave Oliver taking that low line that we've discussed a little bit earlier, getting 2 wheels onto the apron, but suffering no ill effects from that, and he's going to the inside of Bevan Moyes to turn 7th into 6th. And this is another one of those drivers with really fresh tyres, having pitted on lap 30. Bevan Moyes, one of the early stoppers, so he stopped only 2 laps after Baldwin, and that's why he's dropping down the field, and he's going to struggle to hold on to the top 10 here because he just didn't build enough of a gap, unlike what Baldwin did.
Yeah. So we are down into the last 10 laps of this race. Trent Lavis in the lead. He has now put a 0.8 second gap to P2. That's Dane Snatton, who has a healthy gap himself to Joe Baldwin. Now, I'm not sure if these guys are running to the end on these. I imagine they are, considering when they pit and the fact that the fuel restriction on the setup has been lifted. So I don't think there's any reason for these guys not to be able to go all the way to the end. So as it stands, Trent is probably in the best scenario, considering Snatton's tyres are going to wear at a faster rate, so there isn't really a way that Snatton can catch back up now, considering that gap, unless, of course, we do have something serious happen between now and the checkered flag, and that would cause these guys to bunch up. But these guys have been an absolutely stellar performance and best behaviour thus far, so I think we might have a full green oval race, which I'm so excited to say, because that's awesome.
Insane. Because that doesn't happen very often in professional oval racing.
No, that's right, it doesn't.
Okay, the field is usually a bit tightly packed in professional oval racing, I will admit. But really good job from everybody involved. We have had a few dalliances with the wall. We've gotten to know each other well. We've had a few dates, but nothing concrete yet. But deliberate. Lavis and Snatton at the front of the field, 1.5 seconds between them, so Snatton put up a good fight initially. He did what he could, but he's not being able to stick with Trent Lavis. Chapo is now 1.8 seconds behind Baldwin with 7 laps to go, so that's all but done. We're watching Michael Latta here as he battles with Liam Braid. Liam Braid, the number 328 in the Toyota. Good mixture of cars at the front as well, with a Ford, Chevy and Toyota 1, 2, 3. So that's very satisfying. Goes Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota, Toyota, Chevrolet, Ford. So very, very even between the 3 manufacturers here on the Tri-Oval. You can see Liam Bray taking the one line, not able to carry nearly enough speed behind Michael Latta to make that work. As Philip Clark moves past Bevan Moyes. Apologies, Bevan. So this is Matson at the head of this field with Moyes behind him, and then Philip Clark. Yes, here we are on board with now, just confirming what I was thinking. So Bevan Moyes, we've seen up and down the field a little bit like a yo this race. So he had that early pit stop and he's falling down. We won't want to hold up Philip Clark too much, I can't imagine. Well, they are still side by side, so a really good fight here from Moyes in the number 40. And he's got such a good run here. He might actually have a go at Matson. but decides not to. And Philip Clark carrying much more entry speed there. Can he carry it through to the exit? Yeah, this is a brilliant run from Clark.
Whoa, don't go crazy.
That's wide. That's wide for Moyes. Surely he grazed the wall there. No, he's kept it out of the wall. That's nicely done. That's very, very nicely done. Can't believe he managed to keep so much momentum there. That's a really brave move to death wall around the outside. As we cut back to Joe Baldwin losing position to Chapo, as we predicted.
Yep. Yeah, so Sam Chapman managing to catch him there. So Baldwin now has 5 laps left to try and hold off Colin Bennett, who also pit much later. So it's an amazing attempt here from Baldwin. I like the idea, but unfortunately those tires are starting to wear. He slams into the wall. I don't know if that's caused any significant damage. He might have been lucky. It looked pretty flush, but Colin Bennett just gained a bunch of time. So I think Joe might have to lose yet another position. We've only got 4 laps to go, and the laps only last just under a minute. So he doesn't have long to go, but the draft is pretty strong, and we can see that purple car closing the gap ever more. The trick will now be whether or not Baldwin can hold off Lavis, Adam that is, down in P6. But I think Colin Bennett might just have this one done. We should jump on board with him. Here we go. And you can see the damage on the right hand there, just on the, or where you would see brake lights. But of course, who needs lights on a NASCAR?
Let's make it look like they've got lights.
Yes.
Which I find very funny.
Colin's playing it smart too. He's not immediately making the overtake. He's biding his time, and Baldwin's obviously going to try for the most defensive line he can. And again, why would you put your tyre there? I don't understand. But anyway.
I don't know if that was deliberate so much as trying to figure out what to do behind Lavis. Adam Lavis just comes out of absolutely nowhere and says, well, if you're not going to pass him, I'm going to take 2 with the price of 1 if I can. Going to try and dive down the inside here. Will not have a move on Joe. We'll be right behind him. Don't touch him there. Instead, sticks behind him, cuts to the inside. This will be job done because he'll have the inside for the next corner and much fresher tyres. And now Bennett's going to tuck in behind Lavis, maybe even give him a little bit of a shove and then try and follow him through and allow Joe no opportunity to tuck back into the train. And then we've got Dave Oliver trying to get involved here, make it a 4-car battle. They're almost 3 wide. I think there's a willingness to go 3 wide, but not quite the right scenario there. Baldwin just doing his best to hold on here. He's only got 3 more laps to go, so he's not going to give up those positions as a lost cause. Almost touching Dave Oliver there. I think you have to get out of the throttle there, Joe, to avoid the contact, and that's costing position to Moyes as well, and there'll be no coming back from that for Joe. It's a brave effort. It's still got 2 laps to go, and now it'll be all about trying to keep Bevan Moyes behind him, but with a 6-second gap, that should be job done, and 7th will still be a good return. Start 8th, finish 7th after falling down the field earlier on in the race.
So still some hot battles. Yeah, still some hot battles there in the midfield, but up in front, it's smooth sailing here for Trent Lavis. Led the majority of this race, had a really good fight at the start with Aiden Cale, but unfortunately Aiden Cale, 1, hit the wall a couple of times and caused a little bit of damage for himself, and 2, absolutely went Tokyo drift across that pit lane start line, so unfortunately get himself a penalty in the process. 18th position he is currently, so he is the biggest loser of the night, losing 17 over the course of this race. Trent Lavis started P2, gained 1 position, and as it stands, should come across and take the checkered flag on this fantastic race here at Pocono. I'm going to say this, and I know I'm tempting fate even more so, but it has been green flag start and hopefully to finish 45 laps under green flag conditions if that pans out to be true. We saw 1 major incident in where an engine block decided to yeet off the course, and that was Julian Mookie. And then there's been a couple of touches and raw bangs and things like that. But everyone has managed to keep their cars pointing straight. None more so than this man here crosses the line to take the white flag. And it will be a very easy 50-second or 55-second lap for him to take the win here in round 4.
and what will be a commanding lead in the championship as well, with Aiden Cale having his worst round so far, and how much will that be hurting Cale? Any other oval race, had he done that, there would have been yellow flags, the field would have been bunched up, and it would have been game on for him to try and come back through. But with this race, no chance, green flag all the way, and that's really hurt Aiden. Dare I say we should introduce a competition caution? No, I don't think it's quite necessary yet. But Trent Lavis rounds the final corner to take possibly his most commanding performance in the series so far, and there have been a few of those. Another win for his belt, another trophy to take home. Congratulations to Trent Lavis. And Dane Snadden's going to come home in second place, 6 seconds clear of Chapo, 6 seconds behind Lavis. A fantastic race, a fantastic strategy, well executed, and speed to back it up, with Chapo coming home in third place for a well-earned podium. Lavis will finish just off the podium, 2 seconds behind, fighting off Oliver Bennett to the death. And Baldwin did manage to hold on ahead of Bevan Moyes to take home 7th place after a very early pit stop and a bold strategy, which really worked for him. Got himself to the head lead of the queue and then just managed the downfall as best he could. And Matzo and Philip Clark both moved themselves into the top 10. Philip Clark, one of the biggest movers on the night. He's up 7 spots from 17th to dip into the top 10. And Sam Chapman was the biggest mover, up 8 spots from 11th to 3rd, and he shares that moniker with Michael Ladder, who went from 21st to 13th. And we've been joined by the leader of the race. You're all familiar with him by now. You're familiar with his voice. He likes to come have a chat after every race. And why wouldn't you have a chat when you tend to win? It's Trent Lavis. Trent, a fantastic race for you. My first question is going to be, how much did the differences to the setup change things tonight?
Thanks, boys. Yeah, it was a pretty good race. What do you mean changes in the setup? I don't know what's going on there.
Full fuel.
Nothing to do with it.
Car felt no different, to be honest with you. My car towards the end of the race with an empty tank was the best it felt the whole race. It was like I was doing 54 6s all day, so it felt great.
It's really interesting you say that, because just before we got this underway, I went into the race control booth and I asked Ashley. He said, "Oh, yeah, they've removed the fuel limit on the setups," and I was like, "Oh, okay, so that'll probably give them some handling changes." And he said deadpan to me, he just goes, "I don't think they're going to get the benefit they think they're going to get." And I'm like, all right, we'll see how it goes. And it turns out, well, at least from your perspective, nothing changed. You could just go further.
That's basically it, yeah. But the fact that we had no safety car as well sort of took it out of the equation as well. Mm-hmm. So, well, awesome driving by everyone to actually make it without any incidents, because it's a tricky little track, this one.
Yes, it is a tricky little track, and you mastered it better than just about anybody else. What was it like actually experiencing tyre wear in one of these races for once?
That's sort of what I was most worried about with this track. It's the front left leaving the chat about halfway through the race. But so from the very get-go, I sort of backed up the entries to everything and tried to conserve that front right as much as I could. Aiden was pushing me the whole bloody way, and I could see in the mirror that he had to push a little bit harder to keep up. About 10 laps, 15 laps in, so I knew what I was doing was the right way to go about it.
Yeah, and he tapped the wall as well. I don't know if you saw that in your mirrors, and I think after that...
Several times, yeah. There's a few moments, poor bugger.
Yeah, didn't quite have the pace, and did you see what happened to him and why you didn't see him for the rest of the race?
I came into the pits, because he pitted before I did, so he was trying to do the undercut, and so I pitted the following lap, and I noticed he was still in the pit box. I'm assuming he overshot the entry of the pits. He
overshot it quite a bit. Let's just say. Yeah.
I'll put it this way.
It would have been a cracking race if you didn't do that.
Do you remember the overtake that Scotty McLaughlin did on... And now, this is annoying that I've forgotten this, but back when he was driving in the Volvo, and he's just got full lock left, drifting all the way to the corner, and he makes it?
It's Fiji, wasn't it?
Oh, it's the Surface Paradise.
Yeah,
I remember that.
He did that, except he didn't make it, and he got a penalty.
Oh, no. Poor bugger.
Yeah, I'm not sure the tyres were locked until he was over the line.
Yeah, that amazing pass was on Mark Witherbottom.
That's
That's it.
That's right.
So frosty.
Yeah, left-hand door right on the fence the whole way into the corner, and both of them came out the other side. It's pretty wild.
Pretty wild from the 2025 IndyCar champion. I'm just going to put that out there. That's my prediction for this year.
Yeah, early going.
I think what it would have won last season if it wasn't for the disqualification for the push to pass.
There you go.
Which is very impressive for a tin top driver. But anyway, back to our own oval series. Just how enjoyable was it to do so much green flag running and to have a full race of green flag? And what did you think when stay in standing was ahead of you after the pit cycle and he was only in 2 laps before you? Did you think, oh, this is a surprise, or were you expecting something like that might happen?
No, I expected at least probably 3 or 4 cars, honestly, because a fair few guys have pitted about 5 laps before I jumped in, or 2 laps, as you said, probably more likely. Time goes faster when you're in the car. And I knew there would have been some people who would undercut me for sure, but I knew the overlap was going to be mega, so I made sure when I came out of the pits not to push too hard this time, and left a little bit up my sleeve. By the time I got to him, we just didn't have the tyre to battle, so managed to do that pretty cool move around the outside too, and do some couple of clean corners and got away from him now the slipstream.
He did his best to make it hard for you though, didn't he?
He did a cracking job. That was a lot of fun. Really good, smart, defensive and attack racing. Obviously a lot of respect given by both of us there. It was really good fun, and looking forward to more of it, hopefully with the ovals coming up.
Yeah, excellent. Any more questions for Daniel before we move on to Joe?
No, mate, just again, congratulations on a cracking drive. Looking forward to see if you can repeat this moving forward. Hopefully we get more sessions like this. 45 laps, pure green. I loved it. So yeah, hopefully we get more of this throughout the season.
Yeah, massive thanks to Ashley for jumping into race control tonight to turn the knobs and make sure we don't have 50 yellow flag sessions again. It definitely opens up a lot more strategy and a lot more driving. I think Chapo would agree when he comes in later on as a chat.
Yeah, I'm sure he will agree, and we can find out if he agrees straight away, because we'll move on over to him. Thank you very much for joining us, Trent. Nice to chat to you as always.
Cheers, boys.
So, Chapo, up 8 spots, 11th to 3rd. A good night's racing hat. Just describe how you made that happen for yourself.
Just sort of steadily making my way up. It was a decent start, and then there was that pack fighting behind Aiden and Trent for a while, and that sort of left me in the dust from that battle. Just unfortunate, but just slowly made my way through that pack and went a bit long. I'd sort of lost the tyres a bit of the way through that stint, and then tried to sort of pull them back together so that I could hold them for the end of it and pull away a bit, and just went that little bit longer. I was hoping for a safety car, so that if I was a bit longer, I'd had some fresher tyres and we were right up the back of the other two, but wasn't to be. But either way, I was able just to then get through a couple of the guys that were on older tyres after the stop, and it was really good racing tonight. It was quite enjoyable to say. But yeah, I do need to work on my qualifying, because 11th makes it pretty hard to fight for first if there's no safety cars.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask what happened in qualifying for you to be so low down compared to where your race pace suggested you ought to be. Is it just that you haven't quite got the handle of how to drive a quali lap versus racing? Because it seems like you mentioned the tyre wear, but your tyre wear seemed to be pretty good. So is that why you're able to come back through and maybe something a little bit qualifying, or is it just no real explanation, just got to work on it?
I think so. I'd say usually my race pace is better than quali pace, and that might come down to, I guess, not over analysing the laps and that sort of thing, and really trying to nail down that quali. I often, I want to get a good lap in quali, but I probably don't make it my be all and end all. But 11th is probably lower than really where I'd want to be, so I'll need to work on it a little bit. And but I guess maybe I was being a bit too protective, a bit too tentative in quali to be that far down the timesheets, because I think it was about 3 or 4 tenths in total. But I also haven't done much time around Pocono. I think this is my first race around it. So yeah, still getting used to it. I like it. It's good. Really enjoyable track. But yeah, obviously need a little bit of seat time.
I'm just imagining you qualifying. Oh, I'll do a bank lap. No, you know what? I'll do another bank lap. Yeah, a third, just to be sure. Oh wait, qualifying's over.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I was like, oh, should I pit for new tyres? Oh, no, we'll just give it another crack. And then you just sort of like, you know, by the fourth lap, you're like, oh, yeah, you know, that was a nice, oh, no, I'm losing it all in the final corner because my fronts aren't up to scratch anymore. Yep, copy. All right, nice. So, yeah, probably do need to put a bit more effort into it, but, you know, it is always, you know, a bit of fun trying to work your way through the field and, you know, make your way up throughout the race as well.
Daniel, any questions, Chapo, before we head on over to Joe?
No, mate. Again, just congrats on the 8 positions gain there. Yeah, we saw you, like I said. Joe obviously came in, and we'll talk to him about it in a bit. Joe came in much earlier than everyone else, and it seemed to be working for him for a good long while. But then once that tyre wear started to creep up, we saw the gap between you and him just getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And then the unfortunate thing that happened with Joe is he ended up getting caught in a battle with 3 others. It was Lavis, Bennett, and I forget who the other person was, but he ended up being unfortunately dropping all the way back from either of those guys. So yeah, it was for a minute I didn't know if maybe he'd be able to hold you off, but yeah, as that time came down, the evidence was clear that the tyre wear was much stronger on your side. But yeah, man, just an excellent drive all around.
Thank you. Yeah, no, unfortunately Joe sort of had no chance with so much of a gap there. I think it was like a 14 lap difference or something in tyres, and you know, by the end of that first stint, you really had to massage those tyres to get anywhere within, you know, 2 seconds of the time that you were doing at the start of the stint. So yeah, it was never going to be, you know, I was surprised actually he held up as much as he did. I thought I was going to be able to breeze past, but I actually did have to have a bit of a battle for a few corners, so fair game on that. But yeah, then to end up in a battle, unfortunately it was never going to be an easy feat for him.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Chapo, and good luck with your racing for the rest of the week, because I know you're running quite a few series at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
All right, well, head on over to Joe, who we spoke about quite a lot in the broadcast, both from real racing and when we've both been referencing his early stop and how he's the only driver really to make it work for him. You look at the pit stops, he pitted lap 14, he's the only one. Listen, Bevan Boy's pitted lap 46, that seems unlikely, but yeah, he pitted lap 14, and then you got Craig Russell pitted on lap 19, so he's the only one really to pit early and pit once and finished in 7th place. So what was the thinking behind that? Was it always going to be a one-stopper, or did it sort of become a one-stopper as the race unravelled?
No, it had to. Turn 2, I think they need to call the outside wall there, another wall of not-so-champions. I gave it a fair old shake when I was in that battle early on, and I knocked the steering around, and I just lost all pace. So I actually had to pit. I think I did about 4 or 5 laps after whacking the wall really hard. I just buggered up the entry when I went side by side and just gave it a bit of a whack. So it buggered the car. I did, I think, 4 or 5 laps, and I was doing fuel calculations on the run. I thought, all right, if I stop now, that should get me through to the finish, which it did. I had like 400 mil of fuel left right at the end. So if I had pitted 1 lap earlier, I'd have been toast anyway. But I was actually hoping and praying for a yellow as well, like Chapo was, and I would have been right back in the game because I'd already had my fuel. I would have only had to take right side tyres, and it would have been on for young and old, but it just didn't come. And honestly, I don't think that the fuel limit thing had anything to do with it. I think it's just the nature of this track. It's a nice, big, wide, flat track that sort of lends itself to cleaner racing, which we saw tonight. And you know, hats off to all the guys. Everybody raced super clean, and I think at some stage I was next to everybody in the field, so it was good fun.
Yeah, I think you were given the race that you had, but your pace after you stopped was absolutely excellent. That's what made the strategy work. You were running consistently over a second faster than the rest of the field. Yes, you had the younger tyres, but we saw others when they pitted not able to hit the same, not always able to hit the same lap times that you were hitting. So in some ways, was it a bit of a missed opportunity had you not had that instant earlier on?
Absolutely. Yeah. It. I was a lot quicker in practice, so I didn't nail my qualifying. Actually nailed the wall on lap 1, which of course hurts the car. The tyres are hotter, and you don't get the ultimate lap out of the tyre. Then, you just lose that ability to qualify where you probably should have. I was probably a couple of rows behind where I should have been, but it was the strategy early on was like, take it easy, just pick them off, do what I had to do, but I blew it when I hit the wall, so I ended up where I deserved to be, really. So, but look, hey, it was fun. I had a fight back. I probably finished around, I think, where I qualified, So
what position up?
7th, I think I finished. So I think I qualified about 7th. So I might have been exactly where I started, but
Qualified 8th.
Qualified 8th, so up 1 position, and that would have been Aiden, I think, who had the pit penalty. So
yes.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and yeah, I'll put in the memory bank just to go a little bit. Like that turn 2, there's really only one good line through there. You don't want to battle there, especially early in the race, or you'll end up sucking in like I did. So, but that's all right. We're on with an upward now to a track and car combo that I love at Belle Island Supercar. So I might go and do a couple of laps there, and we'll see you on track.
Yeah, well, go have fun. Best of luck with that. It should be a fantastic combination, and I'm sure it's going to be a busy service. So enjoy yourself.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll head on over to Dave Oliver as our next driver to have a chat with. You were involved in that late scrap with Joe and the others. That full-on scrap that we had a lot of fun watching. How tense was that?
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, it was rather intense. As I jokingly said at the end, the race with the other boys, the adrenaline was pumping then. My right leg, I had to actually try and control the shaking in my right leg for those after that pass there around the outside of Joe or outside of I think it was Colin, and then I kind of centered around the outside of the last corner there on Joe and ended up using myself as a berm as he's kind of drifted up into me on the older tires, and somehow we didn't end up in the fence. So, but yeah, so it was fun kind of following Adam there, carving up with freshies like we did. We ran it completely long, and we're probably maybe a couple laps too long there to really take advantage of the fresh tires. But it's I haven't really done much of the season, but it's fun just to jump in and actually have a fun, clean race.
Well, if you haven't done much of the season, you probably haven't missed too many laps of racing compared to everybody else. Because I think we've had more green laps this race than we have the rest of the season combined at the ovals. So you chose the right race to get involved, and you had a good result given the relative lack of practice. Are you going to come back for the rest of the season?
You just have to see how things line up. I've kind of had a few things kind of clash and stuff. So I was up at 12-hour a couple of weeks back and all that. So, and wasn't too well last week. So I just see how things were. So,
well, fingers crossed that you're all better now and that you stay better for the long haul. And how'd you go in 12-hour?
Yeah, it was good. Just try to work my butt off and work for couple mates who I was second shooting for and all that. So yeah, it was fun. So
excellent, good to hear. Well, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box. Hopefully we'll speak to you again before the end of the season.
No worries. Thanks again, guys.
All right, we'll head on over to our last driver interview for the night before we take a bit of a break. But we'll switch on over and heading to Belle Isle for the Trophi.AI V8 Supercars Championship. Our last interviewee is Dane Snadden, the third of our 3 podium members to be interviewed, finishing in second place, taking advantage of the Aiden Kale incident and running a fantastic strategy where he popped up in the lead for a little while genuinely. Yes, it was strategy assisted, but only 2 laps difference between himself and Trent. So a fantastic strategy, a fantastic pace, a race well executed. Is that how you would sum it up?
Look, that was hope you got me there, guys. That was unexpected to have Trent behind me, which probably put a bit too much pressure on myself and took a bit out of the tyres trying to keep in front of him, which I shouldn't have, but had a fantastic battle with him for a couple of laps, which was bucket load of fun. So, yeah, it was good to see the whiskey business, Bowen's Chevy Silverado up the front for a change. So that was a good race tonight.
It was a very good race. I mean, lots of green flag running the entire race, and like I said, fantastic race for yourself. Were you expecting that coming into it, or has this result really surprised you? Sounds like it was surprised.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise. I sort of didn't jump on till I got home from work tonight to run some laps, but felt pretty good on the flat track. When the session opened, I sort of wasn't too far off times, which was good. Banked a semi-decent qualifying, which I think Sam was saying that's pretty crucial to be close to the front. Had a pretty good tussle with Maverick there at the start. I was trying to push him along, but I was just feeling we were losing a bit of a gap into the front two guys, and I thought chucked it up the inside of him there and lost the slipstream, which was really good. Then I noticed Ashley made a bit of a mistake. Must have been going into his pit stop, which grounded me second, and bloody old Tucker Baldwin was in front of me there, so he put a doubt in my mind of what was going on with the strategies. But yeah, and then Trent was behind me, and she was good to see the whiskey business up the front.
Yeah, Joe played a blinder sneakily, given how his race had panned out, like he said, with the damage and stuff. He really drove a fantastic recovery. He had no right being up in 7th, really, so he was absolutely fantastic. Did you have a favourite battle from the race?
Oh, I'd have to be with Trent there. I know I didn't really have it. Trent's been
so good though.
Alien all year, and I thought you boys would be pretty bored without any yellow flags in the booth, so I thought I'd better have a bit of a play. He ran me shallow in one of the corners, and I didn't do the same to him, so I'm a bit disappointed I didn't do that.
But you know, for next time.
I'll definitely do it for next time, don't you worry. I'll keep that in the memory bank. But no, it was good. No contact. A couple of laps of fun racing.
Yeah, well, long may it continue. Hopefully your strong form continues into the next round, and we do get to see you go side by side with Trent again.
Yeah, we got the NASCAR E-Series coming up, so looking forward to doing a bit with those guys. Not that I don't love the GSRC, but kind of last season in these NasTrucks brought a bit out in something different that I want to do. So yeah, we'll keep on going round in circles.
Well, best of luck. Hopefully it's just quickly in circles. Slowly in circles is not fun.
No, that's the one.
The speed makes all the difference.
Thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Thanks Ashley for jumping into RC, and thanks GSRC and Orbic and all the other sponsors.
Thank you, Heaps. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, best of luck. So we'll head on over for. We're going to have a quick break, or we're going to go straight into it. Well, we'll take a quick break. We'll take a quick 5-minute break. We're going to go and get ourselves refreshed in the commentary box. It's a lot of speaking, I will say. So we'll go do that, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes time. Before we're heading off, we'll say a quick thank you to all of our sponsors. They are across the bottom of your screen now: Sprite non-alcoholic cider, Waste Options, merch at TGSRC, Flash Graphics, JJZ Constructions, Orbic Australia, Bowen's, Trophi.AI, who are the title sponsors for the upcoming Supercars race. And that's all of them. Thank you very much to them for allowing us to put on these broadcasts. We'll be back in about 5 minutes time, ready for some Belle action. Hello, welcome back everybody after our short break so we could go and wet our throats and make sure we're ready to call what should be an absolutely spectacular race from Belle Isle. Look at this location. Those of you that know the track know that we're in for an absolute crack, and the Gen 3 supercars have been phenomenal since they've been brought in. We've had fantastic racing at every race so far this season, and I see no reason for that to change. In the Trophi.AI Supercars Championship, we'll be starting by bringing you the first of our 2 races tonight from the Dev split. So that'll be the first 15-minute sprint race. We will then take you to the Pro split for the 25-minute feature race, which will include 1 mandatory pit stop. And weather conditions are challenging here. As you can see, the sky is the same color as the ground, which generally is a bad sign. Apparently it's a bit foggy and a bit polluted up in Detroit at the moment, and these are officially your conditions. 100% humidity, which is why it is foggy, very, very foggy. 11 kilometers an hour wind, so the fog's not being shoved anywhere, and a relatively cool 18 degrees Celsius track temperature and air temperature. So not perfect conditions, like I normally get to say at the GSRC, because nobody would call this perfect conditions, unless maybe you live in Shanghai or another one of those massively overpopulated cities where smog is a constant fact of life. So just watching Dale Sharp, he's been the fastest so far in this split with a 133.3 in qualifying, and there's not long to beat it now. Everybody will be starting their final laps as we have less than 1.5 minutes to go in the session. There's only 13 names on your screen there, but we do have a fair few more in the server. We've got about 22 names in the server, so hopefully they are going to race. There's a lot of great names there. It might be that they just haven't been able to get a lap together. They've tried to put a lap together and have been crashing and getting to know the walls a bit more intimately, but fingers crossed they all take to the grid for the start of this race. Otherwise it could be a relatively small field, but 15 minutes, short, sharp and sweet. Shouldn't hurt the racing too much.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one, as you alluded to. And the sky is the same colour as the track and the walls. Not necessarily a good sign, but yeah, if this track wasn't difficult enough already, now you have decreased visibility. That's going to make it even more challenging. So it'll be interesting to see just how well these guys can navigate with changing conditions. Obviously, this is during the qualifying session. A couple of time does pass between the qualifying session and the start of the actual race. So we'll see if that clears up or gets worse, or God forbid it rains. In which case, it's going to be in for a wild time.
I would love that. I would love that.
He crosses the line there, 134.714, currently sitting 8th position as the qualifying session finishes. So it looks like Dale Sharp will be sitting pretty at the front of the grid.
There's every time, but damn, those supercars are nice looking, aren't they? They're some good looking cars. Anyway, here is your grid for the race. Dale Sharp just clings on to pole position ahead of Brett Bradbury. Only half a tenth in it between those two. We've got Lipsky and Bryant on the second row, with Butler and Koch making it the third. Then we have Baker in 7th, Heaney in 8th, and then McNamara and Newens in 9th and 10th. Amos just misses out on the top 10 with Nick Caprata the next to miss out. There we have Thomas and Matson on the 7th row with Zamora and Michael on the 8th. Russell is in 17th, Mitch Wood is in 18th, Golan is in 19th, and Gilbert is at the back of the top 20. In 21st we have Liam Braid, and 22nd Michael Latta, and as you can see, 15th down to not set lap times, so don't bet on all of those making the grid. So Mitch Wood certainly is on the grid. You can just see him at the back of your shot halfway around the corner. But hopefully he's got some company at the back of the field so that he's not left all by himself at the start of this one, as I wait for the cars to grid. I'd say this will be a more tense grid than normal, given just how difficult Belle Isle is. All these drivers were going to need to be very aware that at any point the track could be partially blocked, and they need to avoid an incident. We do have race control tonight. I believe Glenn Arnott and Tim Watson sat in the race control booth. So congratulations to them. Thank you very much for volunteering your time to the GSRC so that we can have some more race control in more of our series, particularly our televised series and our series with bigger numbers. It's lovely when we can have race control, and we get nice things when we get volunteers. Which is a story as old as time. More volunteers means more nice things at the club.
Alright, so we're only waiting on... I'm not too sure why there are so many drivers that didn't set a lap time, but in any case, we are getting the gritting notification, so there come the lights. You can hear those engines.
They are revving. We've got 4 lights, 5 lights, and the race begins. We've got Dale Sharp getting a decent start. Brad Bradbury looked like it wasn't so good off the line. Indeed, yeah, he's fallen down a lot of positions, so something's gone horribly wrong for him. He's dropped all the way to 13th, and there he is, facing backwards before he gets to the first corner. So I wonder if he had a slow start and then got a little hit up the back from what might have been Philip Butler and Aaron Bryan. We'll have to watch that one again once we get a few spare moments, if we get a few spare moments in this 20-lap sprint race. But Dale Sharp leads them away very competently. He's got Aaron Bryan in second, Philip Butler in third. They're up 2 positions as are Koch and Baker. Solipsky, the other one that missed out towards the front, he's down 3 positions, and then Bradbury, the obvious huge loser in all of that. Michael Latta up 9 spots. He started in the middle of that pack of cars that didn't take the field. So we've got actually 14 cars in the server. Out of 14 cars in the race out of 22 that were in the server. There's a big move late from Newlands. No, decides not to go ahead of it. Also, that's deep. That's deep from, I believe, Michael Latta.
That's Lachlan Thomas. Just went right off the circuit. Luckily, kept it out of the walls there. So it does look like a rejoining safety, which he does. It's unfortunate. Just missed this brake zone.
Very, very easy to do in these cars, and very, very easy to do on this track. It's an incredibly tricky combination. So do not be surprised if you see a few incidents, even with the shorter duration of this race.
But lap 1 done and dusted. Only 2 incidents of note. That's Brett Bradbury that started right at the beginning. And of course, Lachlan Thomas that we just saw. Dale Sharp still leading this race. Aaron Bryan in the Code 9 eSports car in P2, a decent gap to P3 and 4 for both of these guys. And then Tony Baker, the current Dev Split leading driver, I should say, championship leader is the words that I was looking for, currently down in P5. And I just posited to everyone watching at home, do the Gen 3 V8s have the best sounding engine in motorsport in 2025? Yes or yes?
Well, I think between those 2 options, I'm going to have to go for yes. Yes.
Same.
No, yes. Yes. No, yes. They do sound fantastic, particularly reverberating around the walls of Detroit. As we have here tonight, shame we'll never see this in real life. Damn, I'd love to see Supercars do an American leg in real life.
Well, that might happen. If I remember reading correctly, Speed Cafe did put out an article saying that IndyCar are looking to do some of their events in Australia. So if, for those of you who may remember, once upon a time when we had the Gold Coast 500, IndyCars would also go there.
Yes, there is another race that isn't being broadcast. Sorry to cut you off. There is another race not being broadcasted currently. That is the Elite Split. We'll be going to the Elite Split for the feature race once this race concludes.
The IndyCars used to come here to the Gold Coast many moons ago, and now it looks like they might be returning for one leg. They want to do an international, a couple of rounds at an international, and one of them, they're thinking, at least the early rumours, that they'll be going to Adelaide.
Yes, those rumours have been around for a couple of years now. They're certainly not new. Certainly last year they picked up a steam, and that is Tristan Koch, who's pointing the wrong way. I'm not sure if he's done that by himself or has had a little bit of help. Let's see if we can get a replay of that. And you're way ahead of me, so let's see what's happened here. Just goes deep, accelerates on the grass, and that spits him out towards the wall. Very good reactions there to just get onto the brakes, make sure it doesn't do any damage, and then he sits there quite patiently waiting for a gap in the traffic to get himself back out there. But yeah, I'd be as someone who lives in Adelaide, I would be ecstatic if the IndyCars joined the Adelaide 500 bill. I would go absolutely every year. So I'm really hoping that happens, but I do think it would be the wrong move for IndyCar. Probably best to shore up the American audience first, maybe head to Mexico and capitalize on Padua Award before trying to go all the way to Australia. But I hope they make the wrong decision and they come to Adelaide because personal benefit. And Aaron Bryan will be hoping that Dale Sharp puts a foot wrong so that he can get a personal benefit and get to the front of this run. But so far, Dale Sharp's been nigh on perfect. And all Bryan's been able to do is sit on this bumper. But so far, hasn't had a real good look at him that we've seen on the broadcast. You can just see Sharp getting a slightly better exit there. Aaron Bryan carrying a little bit too much speed, had to get out of it a little bit. And not able to get himself in a position to make a move into corner 3. And that is one of the best overtaking spots in the circuit. We're going to see what happened to Nakarata here in his Xbox themed vehicle.
Ooh.
That's suboptimal.
Oh, that's... Oh, God. Oh, in the front, look at the wheel!
Oh, that's not healthy.
Oh, the damage on that car!
It's so sad.
He's actually lucky he crashed where he crashed, because the pit lane is right there. That's actually the most damage I think I've ever seen on a car in iRacing. Sorry, let me clarify that. The most damage I've ever seen on a car in iRacing that has managed to get back to the pits.
Oh, did you see the amount of damage I had on my 79 at the Nordschleife? We managed to get to the pits after 5 more minutes of the Nordschleife.
No.
Okay, I didn't say the replay, otherwise I'd show you, but it was sketchy as hell. It was very, very sketchy. It's probably one of the best bits of driving I've ever done. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get back to the race. We've got Sharpie and Brian still at the front, having a really good battle. It's one of those battles where there hasn't been any real maneuvers, but there's a lot of tension in here just because of how close Brian is staying to Sharp, and Sharp just not looking flustered at all. We've got another battle between Heaney and Lipsky for 5th place, but otherwise, and Brett Bradbury's trying to come back for the field. Next on his hit list is Tristan Koch. But other than that, everyone fairly well spread out, which isn't a shock given how difficult the circuit is. We would expect to see quite a variance in lap times, given how just differences in how comfortable people are getting closer to the walls, carrying more speed, knowing that one mistake means you're out of the race. There'll be quite a few drivers taking it cautiously, whilst others that are willing to push will benefit in lap times a lot, as we saw just there. Lipsky brushing the wall on the outside, shooting up some sparks, but doesn't hurt him too much, although we won't want to get any closer. You can see on the entrance to that corner, Heaney keeping it a little bit tighter to the wall, opening up that corner a little bit more, so that gave him a little bit more speed through there. Just at this point, Heaney does seem the more comfortable exploring the boundaries of the track, but it's not enough for him to make a move on Lipsky.
Whoa! There's Amos to back there, narrowly avoiding the contact with the concrete barrier. A lot of the gaps in this race have really blown out. Greg Heaney's the closest. This is the one you're watching here. The fight with Lipsky for P5. Brian in P2 has slowly been pulling back from Dale Sharp. Sharp with a 34.04 versus a 34.33 from Brian on that last lap. So Dale Sharp doing an amazing job out in front. As you can see, the red timings just switching on now. So Mark Wood on Newens and Bradbury on Tristan Koch.
So while the race has settled down, before we kick off the final stanza of this race, although I say that, watch Butler about to push Brian into the wall. When we get the opportunity, let's head back and see if we can figure out what happened to Bradbury at the beginning of the race. We've got that incident, because it was very unusual to see a car pointing backwards before the first corner. And we are going to see that, so he doesn't get a very good start.
So Lipsky just ends up into the side of him, and that's pushed him straight into the wall there.
So it's actually Sharp, looked like he didn't get a brilliant spot. Lipsky pulls right, looking to overtake Sharp, and puts himself into Bradbury. So Bradbury looks like very much so the innocent victim in that crash, and we just see if Race Control have anything to say about that, and whether it was reported by the drivers. We see Sharp with one of his first mistakes of the race, just tapping the wall there. Sorry, Brian tapping the... No, it would be Sharp tapping the wall there with Brian right behind him. And that car just not looking as stable, not looking as solid as it did at the start of the race. I wonder if he's cooked his tyres a little bit somewhere, just span them up a little bit, because right now, contrary to how it was in the first few laps, it looks like Brian has got the better machine underneath him.
Just hear that angry grunt from the Gen 3 Chevrolet Camaro, which might not stay in the Supercars lineup too much longer if Supercars have their way. Apparently they're not on good terms with the Supercars franchise.
Sounds like they might get Chevrolet off.
How long have you been sitting on that one?
I just got these things instantly. Honestly, it's a gift.
Oh yeah, so it looks like that Supercars foremen are going to move towards obviously Ford and Toyota. Toyota with the Supra, Ford with the Mustang. And yeah, we'll see how that develops. I honestly think that, and it would be a shame, I'll be honest with you, but I honestly think that the inevitable future of this series is going to be to go to more of a GT3 spec. At least that's how I see it. But that is a shame, because these, I don't know, there's just something about them. They're so good.
Yeah, I hope we keep this formula for a while, because I think the Gen 3s have been a success so far. Suddenly it's increased my interest in the series, just because the cars are so beautiful now. As an Australian motorsport fan who's not really into supercars, I'm a prime target for them. And suddenly Gen 3s has moved it a bit more into my direction. Say we saw there Brian just tapping the wall a few times, trying to get past Sharp, throwing everything looking right, and Greg Heaney on the outside there gets his braking all wrong, snatches a brake, and just keeps it out of the tyre barrier. Good recovery there from Greg. That could have been a lot worse. It just shows how easy it is to snatch braking these things. Particularly if you're offline, you're not quite familiar with what you need to do. So watch Mitch Wood, getting it all wrong. And yep, that's a very damaged car. So this is Brian continuing his attack on Sharp. Surely he's going to get alongside at some point. Surely. I say that, we've only got 3 minutes left.
I don't know. Dale Sharp's just done an amazing job out the front here. Brian's attacked in certain corners much harder. You see where he just absolutely closes the gap there. But when you're racing on a street circuit like this, you know, it's the defensive line is what's key, and Dale's just been doing that perfectly. Our only real comparison is going to be, let's say, it'll be the Gold Coast. Once upon a time, Adelaide, but it'll be the Gold Coast primarily now. And yeah, it's all about the positioning of the car, because you don't have a lot of room to work with. So this is going to be one of the key opportunities, but Brian just isn't alongside enough to be able to do that. And then the other one is probably running down towards like turn 7. The bit of a kink there, you can try and force in, but then if you get that wrong, you see what ends up happening to Mitch Wood. You lock up, you go straight, and that tyre barrier is like 4 deep or something like that. It's huge, and so it really doesn't. As Brian gets a little too close, coming to the corner, loses the front end. So luckily recovers quite well, but that's given a bit of a gap to Sharp. Now, based on what we've seen in the previous laps, Brian will be able to bring that up again. Of that I have no doubt. But we're on 13:40 of 15 minutes. I think when we come across the line next, it will be white flag.
Yeah, I believe you're right there. And what you saw there was Brian thinking exactly along this exact same lines as you, thinking turn 7's one of potentially only 3 opportunities I've got to get this overtake done before the end of the race. I need to be as close as possible to give myself the best chance of being able to get alongside into 7, and just gets it a little bit wrong, gets into the back of Sharp, has to come out of it, and cost himself any sort of run in the end. And there is the white flag from Barney, so confirmation that this is the final lap of the race, and this is the race for the lead between Sharp and Brian. They have been toe-to-toe from the start. They've both got bloody noses, but which one's going to be flat out on the canvas at the end of this one? Brian goes to the outside, which isn't really where you want to be, but you might be able to compromise Sharpie and make him slow on the exit, and then he can get a good run through out of what will be 4 and down onto the straight if he gets it right. Certainly a lot further back than last time. Can he get it? I don't know if he can get it done. He just seems to be faster.
No, he's gone way too wide. He's brushed the wall.
Yes.
He has brushed
Pushing
the
too
wall.
hard.
Nah, pushing way too hard. It was a really smart move, trying to force the inside line there for Dale Sharp moving up into that turn 2, but Dale Sharp managed to keep the speed, and Brian was just a little bit off. And then coming through the next complex of corners, he drifted a little too wide and ended up in the wall. There's another person off to the right. I think that's Nakarada, but we'll check that in a moment. But no, this has worked out brilliantly for Dale Sharp. Brian now, I don't think from here till the checkered flag, I just don't, unless he can go for a massive dive on the final turn as he kicks there, keeps it out of the wall, but no, that's cemented it.
Yeah, the worst thing Dale Sharp can do now is look behind him and say, oh, I've got a little bit of a gap. I'll just take it a little bit easy because that gap will disappear faster than you can blink if he makes a mistake. But Sharp has been perfect in this race, leads from flag to checkered in a fantastic result for him. Aaron Bryan did everything he could, as we saw, but not able to make a decisive move. Sits in second place. The two of them, the class of the field, 3 seconds clear of Philip Butler, who rounds out the podium with Tony Baker in 4th. Lipsky in 5th, holds off Greg Heaney. We saw a move between the two of them with Heaney almost in the tyre wall. Liam Amos finishes in 7th, Newens in 8th, Tristan Koch in 9th, with Bradbury only able to recover to 10th. Then it is Latta and Wood in 11th for 12th, Thomas in 13th, and Nakadata had not a race he'll want to remember and finishes in 14th, over a lap down. But what we're just seen is a great appetizer for what's about to come, which will be 25 minutes around Belle Isle in the elite split. So Daniel will be working behind the scenes to get us switched on over to there. And that is why these splits are slightly offset between the elite and the dev when we have a round like this. And there are confirmation of the finishing order with Sharp, Bryan and Butler all on the podium. Sharp, the well-deserving victor, and take him home 30 points for his 151 car. Supercars series, of course, sponsored by Trophi.AI, which is an AI that can help improve you in iRacing. So if you're interested, there are links in the Discord. It also is able to do other motor racing games, such as the F1 game, and it can also coach you, give you live coaching in Rocket League if you are someone who likes a bit of flying car soccer. And I dare say the crossover between those that enjoy flying car soccer and sim racing is fairly high. So do have a look at that. And I must say, it's fairly reasonably priced. I had a look myself, and it is fairly reasonably priced. Got to spot our title sponsor. We do have a bunch of other sponsors that allow us to bring on these broadcasts and bring you things like live race control, and they are going across your screen now in the bottom right. All right, we are back live with footage from the elite split. They're just undergoing their warm-up between the sprint race and the 25-minute feature race. Blacklock, Kale, and Nixon were our podium finishers for the sprint race, so they will be in 10th, 9th, and 8th spot respectively for the feature race, as it is a reverse grid top 10 at Belle in a 25-minute feature race with a mandatory pit stop. Did somebody say chaos? Because I think we're going to bring that to you in a couple of minutes time, and there are confirmation of the results from race 1. So Aiden Kale makes up for his issues in the truck series with a second place, where he should have finished in the trucks. Were it not for a pit lane penalty, Blacklock takes the victory for Orbit Drop Bear. Nixon makes it a Orbit Drop Bear 1-3. Then we've got Kirby in 4th, Slade in 5th, Dahl in 6th, Brownlee in 7th, Lavis in 8th, Baldwin in 9th, and Kurt Nommensen is going to lead the pack away. This guy's rise has been fantastic, and he is now going to lead the elite split of the supercars for the what I believe will be the very first time, and I dare say he's going to be feeling a bit nervous about this, but thankfully he's got Baldwin and Lavis behind him, who are both very accomplished racers that you'll find on the GSRC servers most nights of the week. And he's got a bit of protection before he's going to have to try and fight off the likes of Slade, Kirby, Nixon, Kale, and Blacklock. And there's confirmation of our starting grid for you. So it's Nommensen on pole with Baldwin alongside him, then Lavis and Brownlee on the second row, Dahl and Slade on the third, Kirby in 7th, Nixon in 8th, Kale in 9th, and Blacklock in 10th by virtue of his victory in the sprint race. Then we've got Dodgson and Golan in 11th and 12th, with Hankey and Michael on the 7th row. The 8th row is Bond Stevens. The 9th is Buchanan and Sneddon. Then we have Coleman and Allen in 19th and 20th. And that is the entirety of the field for the elite split. The two very even splits tonight. You can just hear the quiet rumbling of the engines, the calm before the storm. As the drivers sit, they might be getting a bit of a briefing from race control at this point. Although they would have had the briefing before race 1, so probably not. Just sitting there in silence. You know we're about to get going because all the engines are on rev up. There's beautiful sounding engines. And we have 2, 3, 4 lights, and the race begins now. We've got Kurt Nommensen gets a really good start. Actually, Baldwin not so good. He's got Lavis ahead of him already, and he's trying to defend from Brunley. And what he's done is he's given Lavis and Nommensen a fantastic lead out of the first corner as he goes massively under defensive. Already a second between him. He gives the wall a love tap. And that's not going to help the handling of his car. And you can just see the queue forming behind him. It's not a very orderly queue. There's definitely not many Brits in here, because the queue would be a lot better. There's contact between the two Orbit Drop Bear's cars, and they send them each other into the wall. Nixon and I assume it was Blacklock. Yes, it was. Finding themselves in the wall after making contact, and neither of them will thank the other for that. Connor Nixon doesn't come out nearly as bad. He's still in 7th, but you can see the gap he's got to Jackson Dial. And it looks like he's struggling with that car. Oh, lights up the rears. Golan even lights up the rears, trying to get past Nixon, trying to get on the power before him. And he's going to have the inside line to one of the main overtaking opportunities on the circuit. The other left King, can he stay there? No, he's going to be on the defensive from Stevens and Bond trying to get through. And Nixon almost clobbers the wall. And now it's Slade through on Nixon. Oh, this is absolute chaos. And Blacklock trying to make his way through. So this is Blacklock alongside Bond. He gets through. And next up is Stevens. Stevens is the yellow car. I think my timing screen is struggling to keep up. Contact. Goes to the side of Baldwin. Baldwin just about manages to, no, doesn't manage to hold on. And I dare say Risk Control will have a look at that. But first we'll have a look at it and see what happened. Brilliant, well done. Well, you don't need it. You don't need it. You don't need to look backwards if you're going fast enough. This is absolutely fantastic racing and just utter chaos. Somehow Colin Nixon's in fourth. I don't know how that's happened. I shouldn't be surprised. It's very quick on one of these things. Aiden Cale right behind him. And this is going to be moved down the inside and that'll be job done for Cale. I don't think it's going to be fighting this one. No, Colin Nixon tucks him behind. Knows it's not wise to try and go around the outside there because around the outside is death. At that corner, Jackson Dial, the fastest man on track at the moment, in 6th place because he's one of the few that has a bit of clean air in front of him. Brownlee becomes the first to pit. He said, I've had enough of all the shenanigans. I want to just go hot lap by myself for a little while at the back of the field and see if he can undercut. You're right. Yes, much damage on that Orbit Drop Bear's vehicle. And he's pulled over. Fair enough. That's not a bad move given the amount of damage on that car. And now he'll just use it as a bit of a practice session. As we see, this is a battle between Nixon, Slade, and Cale. Cale at the head of this, so Slade just dropping back a little bit. And it's becoming Nixon who's next to try and get past. It just shows the speed that Cale's got because he's driven past Nixon, he's driven past Slade, and is now trying to pull away from these two. So phenomenal driving from Cale. Let's see how we got the first move done. Or we're going to see how we got both moves done. That'd be impressive. There's move one. Yeah, I agree, Leaf. The more laps that he does, the more comfortable he's going to be out front. And there you go.
Jake. So yeah, there you go. So Jake made the mistake there, which allowed Aiden to drive past. So that explains that a lot. Also, thank you very much for the heads up there. So my audio somehow disabled itself, and that entire time I was on mute. So I apologise for that. That would be why you may not have heard anything come through except. But then again, is that really a problem? Because you would have just heard the engines, and the engines are great. Nobody wants to hear my voice anyway. So Kurt Nominson, 5 minutes 40. And
he is in second.
Yes, he is in second. Adam Lavis has managed to make the move on him. We can quickly have a look as to what that looks like.
Oh,
and yeah, Kurt did what Jake did. Hit the wall, and Lavis looks to the inside, nice and easy, and takes the race.
We've spoken to Kurt before, and he said he is more comfortable chasing than he is being chased. So Lavis getting past isn't a bad thing, but where has Lavis gone?
Yeah, so in true commentator fashion, while we were talking about the move that he did, Adam Lavis lights up the rears. Bang! Did exactly what Joe Baldwin did earlier on, although, to his credit, Joe Baldwin did have, look at that, perfect flick turn. Joe Baldwin did have help in his one, whereas unfortunately Adam has done that himself. So, the luck of the god strikes Kurt Nominson once again, and he leads this race 6 minutes 40 out of 25. But this time he has the fast boys, Aiden Cale behind him, as well as Jake Slade and Connor Nixon. So, as Leith said in the comments just previously, hopefully leading something will calm his nerves. But I don't know about you, if I looked in my mirror and I saw a black and red Mustang coming at speed, I'd be sitting a little bit higher in my seat.
Yeah, if I saw any of the million boys behind me, I wouldn't feel too great about my chances.
Oh, he's going to go deep. He's going to go deep. Aiden Cale, is he going to be able to pull the car up? He does. Jeez.
That was a brilliant decisive manoeuvre from Aiden Kale. What he's done is he's put Normanton between himself and Slade and Nixon, and he's just got so much pace right now. It's hard to see anyone being able to pull this race back from him unless there's some shenanigans with the pit stop strategy.
Nah, he's freaking out again now. Oh, well, it's unfortunate. I mean, he should be proud of the promotion that he got, to be honest. I mean, we saw how fast he was there in the dev split. He gets promoted, and he's doing strong now. It's a battle of attrition in this one. It's 25 minutes, as we said. There's a compulsory pit stop. So just get into a rhythm. I don't know if his teammate behind him will help, or whether or not they're out for blood as well. But he can't do too much because, as he can see, there are two Orbic Drop-Bear Motorsport cars of Nixon and Blacklock. Actually, Dial behind as well there. So, yeah, he's only going to be able to hold them up so much.
Yeah, Slade seems like good people. I'm sure that he won't do anything untoward with Normanton. I'm sure if he goes for a move, it'll be clean and it'll be well telegraphed. And I'm sure he'll defend from Nixon and Blacklock as long as he can. If he doesn't look like he's going to be able to make a clean move on Normanton and then pull away from him. The last thing he'd want is to get ahead and then just sit there just in front of Kurt. I think he'll want to pull away if he's gonna make the move. Either that or they'll just do it with strategy. But I do.
Who's on the wall? Oh,
that's Kurt! No!
And the mighty have fallen. So coming into, and he's not the first person to fall for this, but he comes in and just can't pull the car. It's a significant tap, and there is damage on the front left there as well. So I don't know if that's affected the steering column at all. Yeah, Blacklock for the win. Now, that was actually something I was going to bring up, Georgina. Thank you for the comment there, which is as he shoots into the pit lane. So I asked both of these guys at the Phillip Island round whether or not they were playing a team game, because it just seemed a little bit too perfect how they were traveling in the gap they left, and then when they came in, the way they resolved after the pit stops. And both of them assured me that no, it wasn't planned. That's just how it happened. So that leads me to believe that it is no holds barred with either of these guys. So if once the pit stop's resolved, if they're close enough to each other, they're going to race. They're going to race for absolute sheep station. So yeah, it'll be a good one there. Jake Slade's doing a fantastic job holding Connor Nixon behind right now. You can see just how much that Mustang is moving side by side. He's trying to see whether or not there's gaps. He's trying to see where the weaknesses are from Jake Slade. But Jake Slade, although having tapped the wall earlier on in this race, has seemed to turn that wick up just a bit, and it's keeping him in front of the Orbic Drop-Bear Motorsport car. You can see a bit of slide. They're going to be very careful there. As I said, the tyre barrier sticks out quite wide. And, these cars look so good going around this track.
Yeah, they really do. You can just see how hard the suspension is working. You can see the force they're putting through the cars. You can see the twitchiness. You can see almost every time they hit the accelerator, the back end's giving us a little bit of an excited wiggle, like a puppy who's just got home and seen his owners for the first time.
Oh, so Jake Slade comes in. Connor Nixon stays out. So Aiden Kale in the lead. Connor Nixon in P2 now. Jackson Dial also comes across. He takes P3 for now. So we have seen, and we'll just change that from pit time to pit lap there. So we have now seen Blacklock came in on lap 6, as did Kurt Normanton. Unfortunately, his was due to damage purposes. Brownlee and Dodgson also came out early, but they are out. We are left with 16 people left in this race. And so as we hit... not quite. We're coming up to the halfway mark. Oh, as Connor just scrapes the wall. I don't think that would have affected him too badly, but
no, I think he did that just about perfectly. But you can just see how much he's pushing because he knows he's got to close in that gap on Aiden Kale. 4 seconds is a big gap. It's been helped by the likes of Normanton and Slade putting up a really good defensive fight against the Orbic Drop-Bear driver, but. Connor's not going to be satisfied with anything other than a win. That's what he's targeting in this series, targeting the championships, targeting wins at every round he can. But at the moment, he just has not got an answer for the ridiculous pace that Kale's got. Absolutely insane. So last lap, he was 6/10 faster than Connor. 6/10 against the guy who's been basically in the run for the win at every race so far.
So yeah,
Which is insane.
for those of you who might not know, the gold banner on the top of Connor Nixon's car indicates that he is our championship leader at the moment as he does come into the pit. So Aiden Cale stays out for another lap, but Connor Nixon has come in. So we will shoot back to his teammate Sam Blacklock, who is approaching the final couple of turns. They put 100%. They push each other, like Sam said. He jumps in when he's free, but it's not a training drill. If you heard Sam racing, if you heard him racing, you'd know it wasn't a training drill yet. He's one of those verbal races. That's good. So Sam Blacklock will come around, and he exits in front of his teammate. So Connor Nixon drops into P7, and he loses it to Jake Slade as well.
Oh, this is on. This is on for young and old. This is Donkey Kong style right now. Nixon is going to be desperate to get past Slade and go after Blacklock, but Blacklock is tearing it apart there, and Slade's gone deep. As we said, that Slade gets it all wrong into the 90-degree right-hander, has to make use of the escape road, and rejoins in 11th place behind David Kirby. It just shows how tight this pack is, that he was in third, he makes a mistake, gets back onto track relatively quickly, only loses a few seconds, but finds himself so far down the order. Let's have a look what's happened here. He's going to be feeling the pressure from Connor. Yeah, realizes he's not going to make it and bails out.
Another perfect filter.
So that was beautiful. Utterly beautiful. And yeah, I think Blacklock is playing himself into Aiden Cale's pit window because he is 3.2 seconds ahead of Connor Nixon, and we saw that gap was 4 seconds earlier on between Nixon and Cale before they pitted, so Blacklock's going to be right there.
Jesus. But have a look at that previous lap. Sam Blacklock, 131.8.
And a 34.3 for Cale, which is not quick even when compared to the other drivers that have not pitted yet. Cale's made a mistake in the last lap. He's made a big mistake.
Yeah, he's just done it again. 131.773. Jesus Christ. He huffed nitro in the pit lane. Far out. Blacklock's coming out with a vengeance. Obviously got marred with that early incident on in the race, but now he's got the visor down, seeing red. And he's pushing with everything right now. So, I don't see any event for Aiden Cale. But yes, 134.33, so something was amiss. I'm curious to see when he decides to pit. So only the top four and that'll be Nathan Michael there in P7 are yet to pit. Everyone else has done their compulsory pit stop. Of those in the compulsory pit stop, Blacklock is the leader with Connor Nixon 3.95 seconds behind. So we will have to wait and see how this one resolves. I believe with the gap that was attained, Aiden will come out in front. We'll have a look. So here he is into the pit lane. So make sure you don't speed. That's good. Cut the corners as much as possible. Keep in the transit lane. Pull in. Make sure you stop on your marks. Don't go too far forward. You lose time. Then put in literally the bare amount of fuel you can, and then go, 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 and hope that you come out in front of this man here, Sam Blacklock, who is coming around the final couple of corners now. So I'm waiting for the mark. Aiden Cale is showing as exiting pit lane. There he is. They're coming around the corner. No, he misses out. He misses out. Sam Blacklock manages to squeeze him at the end of pit lane and leads this motor race.
Absolutely ridiculous speed from Blacklock ever since he pitted, and this was after, let us not forget, on the first lap he got into a tangle with his teammate. Well, sorry, I believe, because there are free drop back cars in this race. I believe it was the two of them, and really compromised each other. And since then he's just been on an absolute tear. He pitted early, made the most of the tyre offset, and now he's attacking race. Well, he's done that bit. Now comes the defense. He's got his 1-0 lead. Can he hold on until the end? Time to park the Ford.
Now just remember, right? Blacklock was unfortunately held up earlier on. He had the damage on the front of that car. The damage has since gone, so I do believe they have a fast repair, and he has used that to effect. He does the early pit stop. He comes out, manages to smash out lap after lap, hits the fastest lap both times. and beats Aiden Cal out of the pit lane. Now, here's the problem. The problem is he's going to be under a lot of pressure because we know what Aiden Cal's like and we know how fast he can be. So Aiden's going to stick there, right there. He's going to give him absolutely no mill, no gap, no marker, and he's going to push him all the way to the end of this race. So the only thing that works in Blacklock's favour is the fact that it's a street circuit and defensive lines are fairly easy to do. The problem is when you've got a driver like Aiden Cal who is this close to your car as he catches that slide, so he's just put a little bit of respite there, because if he had gone into that wall, it would have been game over. He keeps it out of there and lives to fight another lap. So that's the key corner. That's one of two key corners on this racetrack that Blacklock has to make sure that he is keeping that defensive line. He is keeping him behind, because if he even gets an inch of that nose alongside, he's going to have to give up that corner. It's going to be an amazing battle. And while these two fight it out, don't forget Connor Nixon is 3 seconds behind. That gap will only get smaller and smaller and smaller as these two fight. We could see a fight of 3 to the line.
Oh yeah, 100%. All it's going to take is for these two to start getting side by side, and that's all the invitation Connor's going to need to close in that 3.5 second gap and really make this a free car fight. And you've got to believe with Connor, if he does get onto the back of these two, he will be able to stick with them. He'll just learn enough just being behind them to find that extra 10th or 2 that he's perhaps been missing compared to these two this race, and make the difference through his race craft. And he does love a battle. Does Connor, as does Blacklock and Kale. So Kale's been absolutely incredible this race, and this job that Blacklock is doing is phenomenal. I'd like to know how big a role those 4 extra laps of life Kale's got on his tyres are going to play before the end of this one. There's not many laps to go, only 6 minutes left, but you can just see on entrance his car looks a little bit more settled, whereas Blacklock is struggling to keep that rear under control. And I do wonder if what we'll see at some point is him just getting a cleaner entry, able to turn that into an overspeed at the exit and get himself alongside.
The absolute key is going to be hitting those brake markers. Just keep that idea, that repetition in your head. Whatever it is that they're using as those markers, hit those markers. Gradual on the downshift. Make sure you blip. Don't compression lock the tires. Don't lock the brakes. You cannot afford any mistake, neither of them. If Aiden makes one, he will drop too far back and Blacklock will take the win for sure. And it may even drop him back into the clutch to Connor Nixon. If Blacklock makes a mistake, Aiden Cale will pounce and he potentially will lose that position. And then if Aiden Cale gets ahead, then he will have the advantage of taking those defensive lines. But in any case, strap yourselves in, folks, because it's going to be a crazy 4 minutes to the end of this race. We'll have 2 and a bit laps, I think. I'm not as good as our resident Zaculator is, but I think we'll have 2 and a bit laps as they come around the final couple of corners here. The gap behind has not increased or decreased. It is 3.7 seconds, so Connor is, for all intents and purposes, out of this fight for now. He will come home in third comfortably, as long as these front two don't do anything insane.
I'm sure they weren't. They're both very accomplished racers. Just a quick shout out to some of our big movers of the night so far. Obviously Blacklock's up 9 spots, Kale's up 7, Nixon's up 5. We kind of expect that as our podium finishes from the initial race, but what we don't necessarily expect is Will Buchanan up from 17th to 7th so far, and only 2.6 seconds off Slade in 6th. So he's driven an absolutely fantastic race to make himself the biggest mover of the night.
So if we just have a look here of the previous laps. So from lap 12 onwards, there is literally only 0.025. I cannot stress to you how small of a gap that is. 0.025 was the difference in lap times. These two are essentially glued together right now. And Aiden is doing an amazing job following. Nice and easy. Yep.
You just feel like he hasn't really got a mechanism to force the door open. He's going to be reliant on Blacklock making some sort of mistake that leaves the door ajar, but if he does, he will push right through it.
So I know we're focusing intently on this battle because it is for the lead, but let's not forget there is also another one brewing down in P5. Jackson Dial is holding off Jake Slade, so we will cut to that when we can. However, This battle is just, oh, jeez, this is close as they get to that outside barrier there, leaving nothing on the table and everything on the racetrack as they cross the line yet again. And Barney is not holding a white flag in his hands, which means we will have this and at least one more till we bring the end of this race. You can see just how much they have to feather that throttle coming over that hump. It unsettles the rear of the car. Neither of them want to repeat the mistakes Joe Baldwin and Adam Lavis did earlier in this race. They want to keep that car nice and straight, keep the speed. Blacklock doing a great job right now. The gap increased to 5/10 for slightly, just slightly, but Aiden has kept it in. Blacklock's doing an amazing job. And look how fast these two are traveling. The gap to Nixon has increased to 4.5 seconds. These two are fighting and they're still putting time on P3.
Yeah, well, the good thing is that Cal has been smart. He hasn't been just trying to show himself in the mirror's hips. He hasn't put himself alongside when it wasn't really on. He's done nothing. They're both driven just very, very professionally and made sure that they don't lose pace to invite Nixon from behind to get involved. But what we're going to see now is with 2 laps to go. Surely, Cale's going to try something somewhere, but as I said before, he needs the invitation, and Blacklock's just been too perfect so far. Other than the merest hints of rear slide on the entry and an exit of some corners, there's been nothing to hint that Blacklock's going to make any sort of mistake that would give Cale an easy run. It's going to take something phenomenal to get past Blacklock.
These guys are driving amazingly. There's the white flag. We are on the final lap of this race, the final lap of the final race of the night. Aiden Cale goes a little deep, manages to gain, but it's not enough. He keeps it out of the wall, but he's too far back for a move coming into turn 2. You could absolutely send a Hail Mary, but I don't think that's sensible, and he does as well as he just stays in line. So Blacklock only really has a couple of key corners to go, and then he should be in for a footing. It is an amazing job this man has done from the start of this race to be held up, have to change that pit strategy, to now leading, and it does seem as though he will take the win. But again, I won't, I'll let it just play its course. Here we go. This is the other key corner. A little too far back again, hitting those markers, making sure not to lock up, don't slide out too much. Oh, that goes a little far. He gets,
how close was that to the wall?
Oh my God. He goes a little far. It's not enough to allow Aiden to go past, but he did close the gap slightly. Oh, there's absolutely nothing in this. We've got a couple of corners to go. A handful of shifts. Here it is. The last major one. Just keep it out of the wall start, and he's done it. And Sam Blacklock will come across the line and take the win here. The second and feature race of the Trophi.AI Elite Split, and Connor Nixon with a well-deserved third. Far out.
Incredible stuff.
Far
Incredible
out.
stuff. Both of them. I cannot believe Blacklock made a bit of a mistake going into that corner. Oh, Kel will be kicking himself that he didn't just like pull out to the inside, just to fill up the mirrors and go for, you know, make it, even if he wasn't planning to make a move, because if he just pulled to the inside, might have been enough for him to actually get alongside with the mistake that Blacklock made, but being tucked in behind just wasn't able to capitalize. It wasn't a big mistake, it was only ever a quarter chance, not even a half chance. But there was just the slight opening for Blacklock, but otherwise he was absolutely perfect and is an absolutely deserving victor. Cal, really good money for second. And Connor Nixon didn't quite have the pace of the lead two tonight, but backs up his championship bid with a very healthy duo of third places.
So I'll just see if I can go back a lap to if we can just watch that slight extension there. Since it wasn't considered an incident, I can't cut straight to it, so we will have to watch the lap again, but here it is. So Blacklock leading, then as they come in, I'll try and get a more slowed in view and see just how close he did make it to the edge of that wall. So it's just coming in. So that's the back straight there. And then it's just coming into here. So into the braking zone. And we'll just slow it down here.
Just had a little bit of oversteer on entry, and had to
Look at
catch
that.
it.
Yeah, so there we go. And shut. Yeah, wow. That's so well done. Yeah, that's so well done there. I'm just curious to see what that might look like from inside the car. Oh, look at the lock. So he's putting on the lock, then he realizes the wall's there, then there's a slight counter. Yeah, wow. Absolutely well done.
Yeah, fantastic driving. And we've been joined in the booth by the first of our drivers from the night. It's Greg Heaney. Greg, how did you go in the feature race?
Third.
Oh, very nice. Very nicely done.
First podium of the year for me, so happy with that.
Yeah, fantastic. And how did you get the third? Was it a third from start to finish? Did you come through a few drivers? Just describe to us your race, because we've been watching the elite split for the feature race.
So it was a fifth place start off the grid, and I learnt from my mistake in the previous one and held the clutch just that little bit longer and mitigated a chunk of wheel spin off the line, but still had a little bit. Pit window opened somewhere at around about, I think, lap 6, maybe lap 7. I was supposed to close at about lap 12, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm at about just short of halfway, so we'll take a gamble, get out of the traffic I was potentially in, which was in and around Mitch Wood and some of the other guys. And then, threw it into the pit lane. Thankfully, no stop and hold, because I got the limiter on and got the car slow quick enough. Threw some left side boots on it, filled it up, and off we went. And I think it was about 2 or 3 laps from the end. Obviously, a couple of cars in front of me still had to cycle pit stops, and ended up bagging a third place.
Yeah, so it was an undercut that you managed to make work to get you those positions.
Yeah, very much so. And credit to all the guys in the dev split. I think there was only a couple of them that had a little bit of too much right foot and too heavy a jandle on at that point in time that managed to put it around. But for the most part, everybody kept it clean and in both races. And it was a hell of a lot of fun.
What did you make of the car track combination? Because it's one that we've been looking forward to ever since we saw the calendar get announced in the billing.
The more street tracks I can throw this at, the better, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Definitely it gives us a lot of fun in the commentary box, watching the drivers getting close to walls, particularly when they do get a bit happy with the right foot and decide to swing their tail out towards the wall. I think Daniel almost hyperventilated a few times in that race.
Yeah, I jumped in while you were calling the end of the elite split there, and I reckon Dan probably needs to go and have a breather or get an asthma puffer. He was going pretty hard.
Yeah, he always goes hard on supercars. Absolutely loves it. As do I. They're the funnest cars to watch on the GSRC. I think at the moment it's been an absolutely fantastic series so far, and you've driven pretty well in it, getting your first podium. Hopefully you can repeat this before the end of the season. Any tracks in particular you've got your eye on?
Everyone at this point in time, everybody's probably starting to look to Bathurst. I don't think I've actually turned a lap in anger in this car around Bathurst just yet. But yeah, I mean, Motegi I reckon will be a good one. I reckon that'll probably give you guys a little bit of SMP vibes for race 1. And then we'll just go from there and see what happens.
Yeah, well, fantastic. That will be fantastic. Twin ringing these things should be superb. A fantastic result for yourself. Congratulations, and best luck with your racing until we speak again.
No worries.
Awesome. We've been joined by a few of our main drivers from the elite split now. We'll head on straight over to our race winner, Sam Blacklock. Sam, absolutely incredible race. Just describe to us the pressure you're under after Cal made his pit and came out just behind you.
Oh man, what a race. There was a bit of pressure, but I think we knew he had a 10-second penalty. So we weren't too worried, and it was more about me sort of trying to give Cale a bit of a fight so that we could maybe get a 1-2 finish. But I don't think Aiden took tyres, so we managed to just sort of stay up front and manage our pace, and wasn't too bad. But the stressful part was definitely the opening laps.
Yeah, I just want to jump in there real quick. So can you just clarify slightly? So now we didn't see any race control messages coming through on our end, but are you saying that Aiden Cale received a 10-second penalty, and is that because of his involvement in the incident with Joe Baldwin?
I am honestly not too sure.
It is, yeah.
Okay, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think there was actually 2 incidents that race between those two. I think.
Right.
From what I've heard from Aiden, but we'll see what race control say about that.
No, okay, no, fair enough. All right, well, we weren't aware of that in the booth, and I mean, when you watch the replay back, you'll see the volume at which I was yelling during that last lap, because we thought it was genuinely for the race win. We noticed that in the earlier one, like you mentioned, that earlier, the first lap, you just got caught up in that mess. You ended up taking some damage on that front, which you can see there on the replay. You can see that front fender just pushed in. So we knew that you were already just sort of like in damage control mode, I suppose. And then when you decided to come in pit early, the question then switched to, okay, are you going to come out in front of Connor? Which you did. And then once Aiden came in, it was like, where are you going to come out? And when we saw just how close that was, you're coming around onto that straight, and Aiden Cale's coming out of the box, and you just very cheekily managed to drift out a little bit and keep him in that line, which gave you the lead of the race. It was fantastic just to watch. And then the fastest laps that you were smashing out after your pit stop, man. So I joked about it, but did you huff nitro or something in the lane?
Honestly, that was probably the most comfortable I've felt in the car all night. Obviously, we had our sprint race earlier. I managed to win that just from Aiden Cale. But that stint after the pit stop there I was just focused, trying to, I guess just put some good laps in and hope I could maybe jump a few, knowing that the tyres wouldn't be in my favour later on. Thankfully, those laps sort of helped me, but I don't know if you guys saw on the lap, I think that Connor pitted. When I was coming through the last sector, there was a 3-car accident in front of me and the track was blocked, and I don't know how or why, but just at the last second there was the tiniest little gap and I managed to fit through it, and I tell you what, it was probably one of the scariest moments I've ever had on the sim.
Yeah, no, that's not something that we managed to catch. If I can track it down, I will bring it up here in the replay later. But yeah, again, that's
it'll be about lap 7, Dan.
All right, no worries. I'll have a look for that. But yeah, I'll cut it over to Liam now. But yeah, look, just an incredible race from you, mate. Look, from everyone, to be honest, but just the way that you pushed, again, I can't imagine the frustration you must have had after that first lap. But you just kept your head down and you just punched it out. So yeah, congratulations on the win, bud.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, I had to stop by asking, like, what was the chat like on the radio after that contact on the first lap?
There was a lot of words that I can't repeat. Believe it or not from me. I just stayed quiet and tried to put my head down. But yeah, there was definitely a few words said. But that's what it's all about. When mistakes like that happen, or not even mistakes, but just things like that, you've got to just put your head down and just keep at it, because I'd sort of given up hope, and 2 or 3 laps later I was looking pretty good after the penalty for Cale, and even then after that, so it just goes to show that even if something like that happens, just got to get on with it and see what happens.
You got a not 5-second arrow. Okay, that's happened. Right, we continue on. We optimise from here. That's all you can do, because you never know what cards are going to fall before the end of the race. Even in a 25-minute, relatively short 25-minute race, there's always things that's going to happen, particularly around a track like like Belle. But yeah, you just had an amazing pace all race, and like I said, you didn't think that was going to happen after you had that first lap incident. But when you're racing so close all of the time, there's going to be incidents like this, and all that matters is how you handle it afterwards, really, what you do. And you've shown that you can definitely win the race after an early incident.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I did have a bit of luck on my side as well, you know. Obviously, I drove the wheels off this thing. It wasn't very fast, I'll be honest. We've struggled a bit setup-wise this week, but, you know, obviously you've got lucky with a few incidents happening and things like that. So you may have found the replay there, but yeah.
I'm just trying to narrow it down because I jumped on board on the lap that Connor pit. And you seem to have a clean one, so I believe this is the lap beforehand. So I'll just
I mean my lap's 7.
And it was towards the end of the track?
Basically last corner section.
Yep, alright. So yeah, we should be able to see it this time.
I only know that because I followed him through not long after.
Alright. Whilst we wait for this to appear, we'll just quickly hop on over to Connor and ask a couple of questions. Same question to you, mate. How are you feeling after that first lap incident? Were the colourful words coming from yourself?
No, actually, I was pretty quiet there for a minute. No, it was from another teammate. So no, yeah, I was pretty quiet, same as Sam. Yeah, it was kind of just same as Sam, just head down. Knew the opportunity could arise, and yeah, we kind of just went from there. But yeah, I mean, I think Sam's covered it all, to be honest. You know, the car wasn't great tonight. We were really struggling, and Sam just pulled it out of the bag. Yeah, I really struggled with the car. I couldn't really get it turned, get much, you know, I could have grip, but just no turn in it. So yeah, we'll go back to the drawing board for next week's event, and same with Logitech. We've kind of struggled overall just this week. Been focusing on the OSR 12-hour quite a bit in our GT kind of program this week, so yeah.
So do you think that's where the difference was between yourself and Sam today with, oh my god, with, that's lucky.
Yeah, I think
it was Sam just able to get a little bit more out of on turning.
I think Sam's just a better driver, man. Straight up, I think Sam's just more equipped, just a better driver. So he just extracted more out of the car. I was just, yeah. I've always struggled. I always struggle with cars that just don't have a pointy car. I've never liked understeer at all. So yeah, it's always been a big challenge for me. So yeah, trying to find a happy medium is really hard for myself at the moment. I mean, saying that, I mean, we've got a 1-2 tonight, so look, I can't really talk down, but at the same time, it's just a bit annoying that like even there, just yeah, out of the exit there, it's just really ragging the thing. But I mean, yeah, it's just one of those nights. Great result, but look, could be better.
Yeah, you know there's more pace in the car, and you know you're having to force it to make the pace rather than it coming easier if you could get the setup right.
Yeah, 100%. Like last week was very, you didn't force the car and the pace just came from it. This week was very force. So yeah, I mean that was my feelings. I don't know about Sam, but yeah, qualifying was good, but yeah, race car was very interesting.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed it's better for next week, and best of luck with way racing until then.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Yeah.
Right,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so that's our two Orbit Motorsports. Orbit dropped by Motorsport. The drivers that took over a 1-2 with that 10-second penalty for Ed and Cal, just doing what they need to do in the championship to win it. Both the team's championship and the drivers at the moment, they are absolutely killing it. And we'll go to one driver that didn't kill it in the end, and instead killed his car by putting it into the wall. We'll talk to Kurt Nommensen. I think it's fair to say that we've both been cheering for you, not too subtly, in the broadcasts. We are neutral, except for we cheer for Kurt. And we're very excited to see you on pole position after making the step up into the lead. So just tell me how you were feeling at the start of that feature race.
I was feeling pretty good because I know that I'm actually pretty confident in launching these things off the line. That's something that I have sort of worked out with binding a sort of handbrake to the clutch paddle. It's helped me launch the car. So as long as I kept it clean, that was sort of my main goal, and then just cutting laps was the main thing. I wasn't too worried about racing too hard with some of the faster boys, knowing they were coming through. I was just focused on my own race and getting through and not, putting in another fence.
Yeah, and you were doing really well. You had the really good battle with Adam Lavis in the opening laps. He eventually got the better of you, but you held him off for a while. And then just talk us through what happened with that mistake. Just caught the brakes a little bit.
No, actually, I was sitting with Angus and he was watching, and I braked at the same point. I had every lap, and the car just did not pull up that lap, and then every other lap after that it sort of pulled up. So not sure what was going on there, but just one of those things.
Just one of those things. And how did you rate your race after that?
Well, we don't talk about it because I ended up putting it in the fence again somehow. Still don't know why it spat left and put me in the fence, but it did end up doing that. So had to limp the car home with a very damaged car. So not the greatest, but knowing I had pace and knowing I can launch the car well, it's something to take forward towards next week.
And knowing that you belong in the elite split, right? Because it's your first race in here. You've scored a 10th position in the sprint race, right? Which is a fantastic result in its own right. And then you held on well and didn't look at a place leading the pack at the start of the feature race. Yeah, you weren't the fastest. The guys behind you were clearly faster, but it looked like you were going to hold on for a really strong finish up until the incident. So you can definitely take confidence from that.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice knowing that I was sort of on pace. I definitely had a bit more pace in that first race. I just couldn't get my qualifying laps together, so I started a bit further back and just couldn't get... I think I probably could have got further up closer towards the pointy end, but taking a 10th and getting the invert pole was something that near the end of the race I just decided to, as long as I can sort of finish here, I'll be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and that's, well, other than putting it into wall again, that's what you did. But so now you've got a taste of elite split, right? You've seen where you stack up against these guys. What's the goal before the end of the season?
It's just pace improvement, really. I'm not really aiming for anything lofty at this point. If I can maybe get a top 10 by the end of the season, just, keeping consistent pace, I'll be pretty happy with that. Knowing that I have some half-decent pace here and that I have a good shot of, chasing some people down.
Yeah, you really do. And you're going to learn a lot racing these guys, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, there's a lot that I can still learn. I'm getting a lot more practice in doing SRW the night before, so being able to just be in the car 2 nights in a row is definitely helping with my consistent pace. Even if the tracks may end up being different during the season, it's just that seat time that's really going to help.
Yeah, 100%. This is one thing I've discussed a lot with Chapo when we're discussing, pace and getting better and stuff. It's just how much seat time is worth, and seat time in different cars as well. Like obviously, more time in the car you're driving helps, but just the more you can drive, the better you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's it. And mainly focusing on GT3 and Gen3s is really helping. Yeah, that's where it's gone into the fence.
Oof. Yeah,
I still don't know why it did that.
Not the only person to do that this race, for sure. We've had a few getting a little bit heavy on the throttle and just spinning out. Could have been a little bit more left-hand down than usual when getting onto the throttle. Slightly heavier. It's, if you were close to the edge, then it wouldn't take much for it to suddenly spit you.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I'm pretty happy with the flick spin I did after it.
Yeah, it was good. You recovered nicely. You recovered very nicely. I love
the shame it was a meatball.
Yeah, that's suboptimal. It doesn't even look that bad, but yeah, meatball is not fun. Anyway, look, you did really well in the sprint race. You held on well for the start. We won't judge you too harshly for the crash afterwards. Hopefully you don't judge yourself too harshly for it either. And look forward to seeing how you go next week.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, with that, that's our interviews of the drivers done. And we'll now take a moment to thank all of our sponsors for allowing us to put on this broadcast. And they are Sprayton Non-Alcoholic Cider, Waste Options, merch at GSRC, Flash Graphics, JJZ Construction, Orbic Australia, Bowens, Trophi.AI, and those are our club sponsors. Please do join us next week on Wednesday night when we'll be bringing you the Orbic Truck Series live from Indianapolis Raceway, and we'll be following that up with the Trophi.AI V8 Supercars live from Twin Wing Motegi East. Until we see you next time, take care, and we'll see you soon.